welcome to the 446th episode of the Random Podcast from Heck. My name is Tony. This is the podcast about random things in the world of entertainment, which includes movies, TV shows, and comic books. Big shout out to Andrew Loken. He is a big supporter of the show. You can be a supporter by going to patreon.com/gmanfromheck. Any amount you can commit to will be awesome. If you commit at the Rick Jones tier or higher, you get access to the secret podcast from Heck, which is an additional 30-ish minutes of extra podcast entertainment every single week. I've been doing more of the Silver Age DC comics with the weird, wacky covers where it's always so bizarre what happens, and then they somehow explain things. This week, I might do an off my mind. I have an idea, and it's only because I might record it like after this podcast, which is crazy because I'm recording this podcast so late as it is. But I haven't dug out like an old issue, so I might do an off my mind. But if you can't commit to a monthly commitment, you can also help out by going to coffee.com/gmanfromheck. Did I say that already? And you can buy me a virtual cup of coffee or 3. That's ko-fi.com/gmanfromheck. It has been a crazy week. It has been, I don't know if I said anything last week. I've had so much going on, and I'm so far behind. It's so late when I'm recording this. I'm behind schedule, and but the show must go on. We have a bit to talk about this week. We have our movie feature. Oh my goodness, is this movie called Undertone? It's crazy. I just want to start talking about it now. I'll say this: $500,000 budget. It's released through A24. I was very pleased. So stick around for that. We also have, what do we have? We have Monarch. Again, a week behind season 2, episode 2. Got the season 2 finale of Hijack. We got the penultimate episode of Wonder Man, so we're almost done with that. And then that's it, comics and news. So let's get to it because I want to get some sleep soon, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. Let's see. Oh, Doctor Who fans. Are there any Doctor Who fans? As you may or may not know, so Doctor Who started in, 1963, right? William Hartnell, first Doctor. There, you can't watch all those episodes. They're gone. They've been erased. Apparently, what the BBC did is they recorded over them because they needed the tapes or whatever they used to record them, and so a bunch of them are missing. I know I've mentioned in the past when I would watch the Doctor Who episodes on Channel 11, WTTW, Chicago, PBS channel. I don't know if I said PBS, and you would watch. It would get further and further. You would be like, it used to be like third Doctor, John Pertwee, then fourth Doctor, Tom Baker, then we get Peter Davison's fifth Doctor, then Colin Baker, and maybe if we're lucky, we'd get Sylvester McCoy. But then usually what happens, I don't know how many times I went through this cycle where you'd get, like, I remember the first time when Peter Davison episodes, and then it would go back to John Pertwee, and then you have to go through the whole episodes again, and then we got more, we got Colin Baker now, and then it goes back. So it was very exhausting, trying to. I was like, I want to watch all these episodes back then. But then every once in a while, it's like, here's a Peter Hartnell episode. Or here's a Patrick Troughton, right? Second Doctor. So they would get access or whatever to more episodes. And I think they showed the Unearthly Child, the very first episode. And if I hope you like Doctor Who, and I'm not just, rambling on about this and you're like, just whatever, move on. But 2 episodes, so this is huge news. 2 episodes have been found, 2 lost episodes. They were found in a cardboard box and part of a private collection. I think there was these movies were donated to this charity or something like that. So we have The Nightmare Begins and Devil's Planet. So they're from the 3rd season, and one of them is a Dalek episode. So that's cool. I don't know what the quality, how they are, and if it's. I mean, where did these come from? Because it's not like there was VCRs back then. So are they like original tapes that someone just happened to get a hold of and it was in their collection? So that's cool. And but it's very tragic, that a lot of these episodes are missing. And I think one actor who was like in one of the episodes, who's still alive, he's like, my flabber has been gasted or something like that, to see this footage that he did so long ago. That is a long time ago. So that's great news. There was another Daredevil Born Again teaser. I did not watch it because season 2 is starting on March 24th. So that's soon. I don't need to see anymore. It's like they just had one last week. Like, whatever. We saw more Jessica Jones and stuff. But yeah, so that's cool for that. But I'm not going to watch any more teasers. And it's kind of good because I was like, okay, Hijack is over. Wonder Man will be over after this week. I was like, there's going to be no shows. But I think, isn't The Boys starting up too? Maybe? I don't know. Alan Ritchson. So he was in, I didn't realize this. I don't know if it's a series or a movie. I think it was a movie. Was it a movie? He was in a movie called War Machine. And it has nothing to do with Marvel. But he made some comment. He's like, oh, yeah, I think people are over watching Marvel TV shows because apparently the War Machine had high ratings or whatever. Okay, but that's just ridiculous. I mean, what Marvel show? Wonder Man is like a 90-something, 93%, 91% of Rotten Tomato. Yeah, people are over Marvel movies. There just hasn't, or Marvel series, there hasn't really been Marvel series because they're focusing on... I mean, okay, yeah, what about Daredevil? Daredevil's coming up. People are over, don't want to watch Daredevil. Or I don't know what the numbers were for season 1. It's just so stupid. It's like, I really don't like when people, crap all over another fandom or whatever. There's no point. All you're doing, because like what this does, I don't even know what War Machine is about. I didn't even realize it was out. I mean, maybe I'm not on Prime that much. And Prime is raising their ad-free content from $2.99 to $4.99 a month. Even on top of the $39 you pay for Prime, because I guess Amazon does not have enough money. They're hurting for money, so they have to raise that. It's ridiculous. So with this War Machine thing, I did not watch it. I haven't heard anything about it. What do I do every week? I look for news, and maybe I'm not like all over the internet scouring, every little bit. I heard nothing about this show. I didn't. When I saw like my buddy, or I think my buddy watched it, and he posted like on his Facebook or something, or maybe his Instagram, whatever. And I was like, War Machine, I was ready to make like I think I saw it on his Facebook, and I was looking for a Don Cheadle GIF with that. I couldn't find, because the Facebook GIFs, can I say this right now? Facebook GIFs are so limited. I'm a GIF person. I couldn't find anything, so I couldn't make this stupid Marvel joke, and by stupid joke, it wouldn't even be funny. So there's just whatever, people watch this, people like it, but why put something else down? Because what that does, that makes me not want to watch whatever this War Machine is. And I like the Reacher show, even though I still haven't finished season 2, I think. So whatever. Yeah, there you go. Boycott War Machine. What else do we have? Kind of not so good news for Peacemaker season 2. So Jennifer Holland, Harcourt, she was at, I think it was a Saturn Awards or something like that. And someone's like, well, what about Peacemaker season 3 or whatever? And she's like, there's a lot going on. I guess they asked if there's like any development, anything going on. And she's like, there's so much like other pieces. Like the next season depends on a bunch of other things. Like, we if you watch the season 2, it has to do with that. I don't even remember what it's called. Something like the prison planet type of thing. They're supposed to do a movie about that. And so John Cena will probably be in it, I guess. I don't know. So there's other things that have to happen before Peacemaker season 3 can happen. So we have that. Oh, and I just want to mention, I believe I'm like 98% sure the Oscars were this weekend, are this weekend, were this weekend. I don't know if I'm going to watch them. I actually, I tell you back, I'm not going to watch them. I don't watch awards show. And I know some are like, what? But the thing is, I'm usually doing something else. I don't have time to watch awards show. I barely have time to read comics or whatever. Usually, you can get the results online, and whether someone's live streaming it or updating their website, or Instagram's like updating, And the other thing also, like a lot of the movies, I was like, man, I haven't watched any of these movies. And so what does that say about me? Maybe I'm not hoity-toity enough to care about these movies. The only ones I know is like, Marty Supreme and Sinners, and I'm sure there's some other stuff. But so good luck to everyone. I think that the main thing, I don't agree with the Oscars. I don't know what their criteria is, and I just think it's ridiculous. Yeah, they've expanded. One thing it's weird is how they've expanded the number of nominees. Because I don't even know how many there are now, but I think there used to be 5, and now it's like double that. I mean, I guess that allows more people to be nominated, and it's an honor to be, Oscar-nominated actor, and by actor I mean actor or actress. It still sucks you get nominated and then it's like, oh, you're a loser. Even though no, you were nominated, you were recognized. And a lot of times it seems like oh, this person just died, and I'm not even mentioning names, but like, oh, this person died, let's honor them, I guess. But then again, that's not fair to other people. It's like everyone should be honored. It's like, why does like one have to be the best? And what is the criteria? Again, who is voting? And there didn't, don't get me started on this, but didn't it used to be where like people have admitted that they haven't even watched all the movies and they're voting on them? So it's like, if you are taking, I don't even know who the Academy is, but if you are taking the responsibility or accept whatever, if you are going to be voting on it, it is your freaking due diligence or job or whatever you want to call it, to actually watch the stuff that you are, okay, these 10 movies are nominated. You better get your butt and watch these 10 movies, or you don't deserve to vote. It's so stupid if you are voting when you haven't watched everything. So, yeah, congrats to everyone and all that stuff. X-Men 97. I don't even know when season 2's coming up, but there is going to be another season 2 prequel comic. It's going to be written by Steve Fox with art by Salva Espin, but the cover, once again, is by Todd Nauck. So he did the cover to the X-Men 97. And that thing, man, that comic was like selling. It sold out. People wanted that cover. Because I remember I was at WonderCon is when Todd had his spotlight panel, and he asked me to moderate it. And I remember all these people coming up to him, to get signatures on it and stuff like that. And it was like hard to come by. I mean, maybe it wasn't sold out completely, but it was very much in demand. And it's like some vendors had them, but yeah. So there's gonna be another one. You got that to look forward to. It's not really news. I think there's a new trailer for They Will Kill You. I'm kind of interested in this movie. So it's starring Zazie Beetz, and I've seen the trailer so many times at going to the movie. The big problem I have with this is it looks just like Ready or Not, except it's not a white girl. Because like in this movie, Zazie, can I call you Zazie? She gets a job at like this hotel, but then it turns out the hotel they need a sacrifice for some devil demon or something like that. And then it's like all these white people trying to kill her, to sacrifice her, whatever. Which is that's like almost very similar to Ready or Not. All these white people killing. What's with the white people killing people? Stop it. The trailer, the first trailer that I've seen looks very slick. So I am interested in seeing it, and I like the title, but I feel like the title it's like one of those weird titles. Like, what was the other one? I don't even remember the other one. Good Luck, something, Don't Die. That, like that. It's like a really bizarre, it's a not traditional title. But, They Will Kill You. A weird title. It's long and whatever. I dig it. And I feel like that's the point. Let's do a weird title that doesn't make sense, get people's attention. What is this about? So I do want to see it, but I hope it's different enough. And I don't even know when it's coming out and what else. Will I see it? Maybe. What else? Guess what? Snyderverse fans are still drooling over. And here, okay, I gotta talk about. I'm not trying to knock the Snyderverse fandom, but I guess I kind of am. Zack Snyder is just like nonstop. Like, here's a picture of Henry Cavill. Here's a picture of Gal Gadot. Here's a picture of Ben Affleck. Here's a picture of whatever. And people are like, oh, there's another one. Restore the Snyderverse, release the Snyderverse, return the Snyderverse, whatever. And it's just, how many years has it been now since the Justice League or whatever the last thing was? I just don't understand. I do not understand. I think I don't know if I mentioned it, but I think it was, I don't know if it was last week or week before, Zack Snyder was like, it wouldn't be that hard to continue it. It was not as hard as you think. And the thing is, like, at this point, I shouldn't even go into this. I still say there's no way you could do another movie. I think it would be so hard to get all these actors I named and get everyone back to do that. And then there's the fact that they're aging. We are all aging. And, some of these characters shouldn't age. Superman shouldn't be aging. Wonder Woman shouldn't be aging. I don't know. But the other thing, they all have busy schedules to try to coordinate. I mean, are you going to do it in a way, film it so you can just like piece together everything? I mean, if it's all green screen or whatever, then you can just morph, I don't even know. But then they're like, well, maybe it could return in comic format. Yeah, it's not going to be the same. I mean, I do not understand what it is. Marvel, DC, anytime they try doing an adaptation of their movies or anything like that, it just feels very cheap to me. And I apologize to anyone involved with it. Even like the X-Men 97. I loved the Todd Knott cover in the first issue, but I just didn't really care for it. And we've had like all these Avengers like prequel, whatever comics and stuff like that. And I've read some because it's like, oh, here's something's happening in between, whatever. But it's just, there's something about it, and I don't know what it is. It's like the art feels off, the writing feels off, and sometimes they actually have, like, I'm pretty sure, I could be totally wrong, but I feel like Christos Gage may have done some, and I have so much respect for Christos Gage. I mean, he's also a very nice guy, which makes me really want to support him. I could be wrong, or I don't even know. Has Dan Jurgen done some? I mean, there has been like traditional, actual, and I don't mean that as an insult, but there's been like comic book creators that have worked on some of these. Sometimes I feel like it's like, well, okay, I haven't heard of who these people are, because I feel like, all your main creators are already booked on, they have their contract or deal, they're working on the main titles. So then to try to, like, maybe it's like a last minute, like, oh, we should probably do a comic for this. And it never feels right. So yeah, anyways, you could try doing a Zack Snyder Justice League comic. I feel like it just wouldn't be good. I could be wrong. And I don't know if Snyderverse members, loyalists or whatever, if they would want that. Because how many of them are actually reading comics? Because it just seems like a lot of people, they'll support the movies, but they don't read comics because they're expensive or whatever reason. So I don't know, but yeah, and I'm sure there's gonna be more pictures coming. So and again, prove me wrong. Okay, Tony was wrong. I will admit that if all of a sudden we're getting Justice League 2 movie coming to a theater nowhere near you, I don't know. Speaking of DC stuff, Supergirl. This is weird. I don't know much about this. So Junkie XL was supposed to do the music, the soundtrack, and is no longer doing the soundtrack. And the movie's just a few months away, and now it's going to be done by Claudia. Sorry, I think. That's weird. And I wonder why. And I wonder how this works. Is I'm assuming this is kind of tricky. This is they filmed the scenes obviously, and then I guess the composers must watch the scenes, and then they're like, okay, how can the music's going to crescendo here, whatever. That and I feel like that can make a big difference. I mean, like, speaking of Avengers, like think about like Avengers movies. I mean, it's almost like it's so iconic now. It's just so, and that was horrible. Just imagine if someone else did it, or take someone like John Williams. Like, what if John Williams didn't do, one of the things that he's known for? That would be so bizarre. How bizarre? How bizarre. The last bit of news, because it's time to move on. See, I told you, it is so late. So good luck to this podcast, this episode. Brian Fuller, who has done stuff like Pushing Daisy and Hannibal, he mentioned somewhere, something like that, he said he's like writing a script for a show. He's apparently doing a show like with Clive Barker. Now, I am a big Clive Barker fan. And I did get to meet Clive Barker once. So he was signing The Great and Secret Show. So I got his signature. Super nice guy. I guess I won't say the next part. And Nightbreed was also coming out, and he even like signed this little Nightbreed pamphlet that I asked if he could sign this for someone who was not there, and he did it. And I went to Evanston, Illinois, to some bookstore. I went with a friend, Kane, and he didn't even buy a book, and he got like one of those pamphlet things signed. So very nice guy. Very weird books, but I dig it. Rita Magica, that book is massive. But that's gonna be it. So you show no idea where, what. I'm excited, and hopefully you are excited for the rest of the show. But that is the news for the week. All right, with comics, as I mentioned, is a crazy week, and I know, but this is seriously, oh my gosh, like boom, 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 almost every single day. Yeah, I mean, literally, I guess maybe Tuesday was like a normal Tuesday, but man, every other day of the week was just nutso. At Image, no, I back up. There was a Gotcha Man, I don't remember, issue 16, 17 came out, and the Science Ninja team, they come across who's this other person, this gal in this costume, and she's, at first are like, are you Galactor? She's like, no, and yeah, so we'll probably see more of her, and so yeah, so that was fun. There's Space Ghost. Don't ask me what number. That was a cool issue. Yeah, they get captured, Space Ghost and the kids, and there's some like, I guess we'll say some like mental manipulation, and so that was good. And I think that's all I read outside of the other three publishers. Image, some book called Transformers, number 30 came out. I'm not reading that. It's nothing against it. It's just, I should be reading it. I know. But see, then G.I. Joe Real American Hero 326 came out. I do want to read. I didn't have time because of this week. I did read Dork, number 2, The Orc. So the first issue apparently crazy sold out. Hopefully if you got a copy or a reprint. It's an interesting comic. He's what is he, a cross between a dwarf and an orc? Is it? And he has like this cursed shield that talks, and now there's like the ghost of a chicken head that got chopped off. It's like kind of following around. So it's a fun book. You definitely should check that out. And that was all I read at Image. Like there's Undiscovered Country 35. What is going on in this book? I wonder, because I read it way back into like the single digits. Charles Soule and Scott Snyder, issue 35. I'm curious. Rogue Sun 33, Witchblade 19. Yeah, so there's all this other stuff. At Marvel, yeah, I guess I can say this. It happened this past week. So now I did have something on Tuesday. I had get some technical help from Marvel. So kudos to Marvel's PR team. I'm so grateful to them taking the time, helping me out. So yeah, that was cool. Made me feel appreciated that they took the time, and I it was and basically it was I will say it was probably on my fault, on my part, and I apologize. They're like, no, don't apologize, and so we are back. Marvel, thank you, Marvel, for making my job a little easier, and for putting out fun books. 1776, number 5. So this is the final issue. This has been a weird book. I'm just going to say that right now. And the reason it's weird. So it's J. Michael Straczynski's writing this. I feel like in a lot of ways. So like the characters we have. So what is this about? This is about like a bunch of Marvel characters having to go back in time because Morgan Le Fay, she's got some crazy scheme. She wants to like change history basically. A bunch of heroes have to go back to stop her, but they're like in the middle of like this Revolutionary War or whatever. And so you got Captain America, you got Spider-Man, you got Doctor Strange, you got Hulk, Iron Man, and Clea Strange. And it's just been weird. What makes it more weird is the way the interactions, like the way like Spider-Man and Captain America interact. It feels like it's not in the main continuity. It's like not those versions. But then. Wait, Doctor Strange was in this and Clea? Because I said it based off the cover. But where was Doctor Strange during all this? I don't remember him being so much in this. That's, again, late night, my memory, whatever. Clea is definitely in it. She was like the magic anchor helping everything. But just like the interaction with these, because I think at one point, I don't know if it's Spider-Man or whatever, calling Iron Man Mr. Stark. And I don't think Marvel Comics now Spider-Man would call him Mr. Stark. So it was just kind of weird, but it was a very interesting the way it all played out, and yeah, so I enjoyed that. Alias number 1. Is this just called Alias? Because I see York. It's not Alias York, New York, because that's on the cover. It says New York. I don't think there's any subtitle. I think this is just Jessica Jones Alias, number 1. It's written by Sam Humphries. Who does the art? The art is by Gerardo Borges. And there's something about Jessica Jones. Brian Michael Bendis, man, he did such a good job with that comic. And it was something different, and it was really cool. So now, because Jessica's like married to Luke Cage is the mayor. I feel like I missed something because she had to give up her investigative license. So she's not supposed to be a private eye anymore. But like, what is she supposed to do? And she's also dealing with like the paparazzi because she's the mayor's wife, and she kind of comes across like this murder scene, and yeah, things get messy, because she wants to like get to the bottom of things, but she's not supposed to investigate things, so there's a lot of flack. Like the police are mad that she's getting involved, and Luke Cage is getting a lot of flack from everyone, from the police chief, but yeah, it's good and kind of as you would expect, a little dark, so. Fun stuff. So read that. So good job, Sam Humphries. Black Hat. Black Hat hot? I don't know why it says hot on the cover. Number 8. This Black Hat, Mary Jane. It's like they work so well together. It's the weirdest thing. Now it makes more sense. It's easier because when they first had their team ups, it was just like weird because Mary Jane is a civilian. It doesn't matter, how long she was with Spider-Man and what she knew. She's just a civilian. Sorry, but I love Mary Jane. She's my favorite love interest for Spider-Man. And no offense, Gwen, but Gwen's in the past. Sorry. And then Mary Jane got her jackpot powers. Say that. That sounded weird. Which is just kind of weird. And now, I guess this is even weirder. Now she's got the Venom symbiote. But it's good because now Mary Jane can take a bigger role in like the superhero world. And I know it's really kind of silly to say that because Felicia Hardy doesn't have superpowers aside from her bad luck power thing. What is basically happening is Mary Jane is trying to get a hold of a videotape that she says would be very embarrassing if it came out. And no, it is not anything inappropriate, she said. Because Felicia's like, oh, you do one of those? And she's like, no. So there's apparently, she thought all copies were gone, destroyed, taken care of, but there's still one left. It's locked in a vault. Where's this vault at? It is in the friggin' negative zone. So she's like, hey, Felicia, can you do me a favor and help me break in there and get this? So they're in a negative zone trying to get it, and it's pretty nuts. So yeah, I'm digging it. Doctor Strange number 4. This is Asgard stuff, so I won't read that. We had, was this The End 2099 or 2099 The End? So issue 4 came out. No idea what's going on there. Hulk smash everything. I'm curious about this. This issue 4. I have no idea. Oh, wait, is Ryan North? Maybe I should have been reading this, but I just don't know what to expect. Like, is this? Yeah, I don't know. So I'm not reading that. Then there is Imperial Guardians. I don't know what it is about Marvel intergalactic planet stuff. This is by Dan Abnett, who has done so much, Annihilation, all the epic Marvel space stuff. I don't know why it's so hard for me to get into it. I haven't read the last 2 issues of Nova because it's and space stuff. What do I call it? I don't usually call it space, Marvel Cosmic, but that just sounds weird. Maybe that's what, I don't know. So here, I don't know if this is coming out of that. It's like, why are these characters together? We have Gamora, we have Darkhawk, we have Captain Marvel, because Carol's, I guess, she's available. She's not in Avengers anymore. Is that Cosmo? I'm trying to read this. No, Cosmic Ghost Rider. That's Frank Castle. And Braun. Oh yeah, Braun. Amadeus Cho. Yeah. And so I was like flipping through the pages. I started reading it and everything. But at one point, like Gamora's like Danvers, do this, and she's like, okay. So I'm curious with this team, who's leading this team? Is there like a straight up leader? Because Carol's like such a leader, but Gamora. Oh no, wait, yeah, this is Gamora. Now I'm trying to think about this version. Yeah, this version of Gamora is not like the original version of Gamora that we saw. So she's been around, Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why they're get together. But that is out there if you want to read it. Logan, Black, White, and Blood, issue 3. It's a nice cover. Who did this cover? Cover. Oh my gosh, I can't even read. It's getting to the point where like my vision is getting. Like Sarah Pacelli. Wow. And then there's Phil Noto did a variant cover. Now it makes me want to read this. I probably won't. Let's see. Who do we have? We have a story by Carla Pacheco with art by Pere Perez. Dig Six Graves. Right, just more information. Southwestern Great Plains, circa 1930. Oh, the stories even tell you when they take place. There's Hate Is Enough by Mark Bernardine, and layouts by Juan Bazaldua, Daniel Picciato. I shouldn't even try saying any of his name. I can't say it. And then there's a Clinical Trial, Hollywood, 1982, by Phil Noto. Yeah, I should definitely. I want to read that one. So you can check that out. Magic and Colossus number 2. I don't think I'm pretty sure I didn't read the first issue. This is by Ashley Allen. She did the writing, and German Peralta does the art. So I'm not even sure what's going on here, but yeah, I like that. Planet of the Apes versus Fantastic Four. I did read this. You darn right I read this. Yeah, so it's continuing. First issue, Fantastic Four find themselves on the planet of the apes. They find themselves, and their powers are gone, and they've been captured. And then something happens, and a bunch of apes. I feel like it's insulting to call them apes, but that's what they are, right? They get the powers. Like Dr. Zaius gets, he turns to stone. Ursa? No. Galen? Is it Ursa? Galen's wife, the doctor, the chimp. She gets invisible powers. Some other ape gets stretching powers, Mr. Fantastic. And then the general, wait, wasn't his name Urso? Oh, I should open the comic up. But he gets Human Torch powers. And that's what bothers me. He flames up and everything, but his clothes, he doesn't have unstable molecule. I don't know if maybe I read too fast. He doesn't have unstable molecule clothing, but his clothes doesn't burn up. And I'm not saying I need to see him like that, but it's like, how's that happening? Oh, and then, so obviously part of it was Red Ghost was involved with it, of course, because he's got his space apes, right? But then someone else shows up. It's like, what? Come on, man. Everyone's coming to Planet of the Apes. Every, like, Fantastic Four person. I don't know. Then there's Spider-Man Meals to Astonish. Like, what the heck is this? Guest starring Chef Jose Andres. Is that someone? I'm sorry, I don't know. Featuring Spider Ramen, Jeff DeLant. Spider Ramen? Is that some Spider-Verse character that I don't know about? Jeff the Land Shark and Chef Paul Carmichael. What is going on here? And this is a $5.99 comic. I don't know. I had to read that. I'm curious. I was like, what is this? Storm, Earth's Mightiest Mutant. No, how's it number 2? Did they restart it? Because I don't remember it going back to number 1. Earth's Mightiest Mutant. There is Venom, 285. This is part of the Death Spiral. So we got Venom and Spider-Man teaming up, trying to figure out what's going on because, I didn't mention the last issue. A longtime Spider-Man foe gets killed. And I guess I didn't read it because, it's a comic book death, and those never stick. This looks like it's going to stick because not only does I did say Shocker, right? Shocker ends up getting, like, he's about to blast and whoosh, he gets his forearm chopped off. And he's apparently dead. Spoiler, did I say? I don't know if I said who. No, I didn't. I just said it. I just told you there. Yeah, it's a shocker. It is a shocker that he's dead. So Spider-Man and Venom, they're like, we can figure this out. They need to, what do they do? So first, I'm going to spoil some things. Spider-Man goes to the bar with no name with Venom, and Venom's like, he's with me, whatever. And they're like, no, not today. And, he does want to offer his condolences to Shocker. He's like, I liked him because, he was just a bank robber, and he kept things simple and that. And it is nice because then he talks to Boomerang. He's like, oh, you owe Peter Parker's rent money, by the way. And he's like, shut up, what? Because he lived with, and I totally forgot about that. It was so weird. So they want to get to the bottom of this, like who did this, and there was like there was writing blood on the walls, and it said Carnage. There was something, the way it was written, like, didn't make sense, but it was basically like it's supposed to be signed by Carnage. But we all know Carnage is Eddie Brock. So Eddie Brock wouldn't do this. So they're trying to, Death Spy or Torment or whoever it is, can't keep track of them, trying to blame it on Carnage. But Spider-Man and Venom, they're like, we need to get to the bottom of this. And Spider-Man's like, yeah, I want to web them up so the police can arrest them and that. So then they're like, okay, we need some help. So they talk to Tombstone. And then they're like, okay, this is where Tombstone says it was Carnage, because Tombstone, of course, has access to police photos or something. Or was it on the Daily Bugle? I don't know. But then they're like, well, how can we stop him? Because Tombstone whispers. And Venom's like, Sonics, fire. It's like, dude, Mary Jane or Venom, whoever's talking, you're giving all your secrets, because now it's like, oh, Venom, you are basically a hero, and now you're telling this evil guy how to stop you. Oh, it says on the cover here, I'm looking at it. It says Carnage ruled with past tense. And so everyone's like, oh, Carnage must have did it. Why would Carnage... that doesn't make sense that Carnage would write that. So yeah, what I don't like about this crossover thing is that all these like descendants of like Parkers and Brocks and whatever people, Watsons are getting killed. And yeah, I guess I won't mention, but someone close to Eddie Brock is a target. So yeah. Then there was X-Men United #1. It's like, what is going on here? And I started reading this. If I understand this correctly, and I don't think I do because it doesn't really make sense, Emma Frost has made some mental mindscape hub for them to all like hang out and train and do stuff. And it's supposed to be like, you are safe here. They have like a danger zone. And I was like, wait, Emma's not this strong. I feel like I missed something. Maybe I skipped a page. I don't know. And, Cyclops like, this is a bad idea, whatever. And he takes off because, he doesn't trust anyone, and he thinks things are going to go south. But yeah, I kind of lost interest. And then there's a spoiler. There's a Lockheed clone, and it's a girl, because Kitty's here, which is interesting. She's in costume. It's like, because she's always like kind of hesitant about returning back to and being, even though she's been working with Emma and the kids, the other kids. What's with all these X-Men kids, new kids? I'm not interested in them. Sorry. Whatever. Is that comic even happening? Maybe not. But then we see, again, reminder, it is late at night when I'm recording this, so things are just going to be weird. So Kate Pride, is she still going by Kate? Like Lockheed's, it's like, wait, we haven't seen Lockheed forever. And I think she's even talking about calling her a different name. It's like, you're going to choose a name? It's a little presumptuous. Yeah, so I don't know what's going on there. So that was X-Men. That was Marvel. At DC, there's Absolute Batman #18, and I did try reading this, and I just struggled. I couldn't keep up with it. Something about the cover just throws me off. I feel like there's just like so much going on, and it's like, I don't know if I even want to read this, but I did try. It's continuing the Batman versus Poison Ivy, which okay, great. We got a maxed out version of Poison Ivy. Cool. Do something different. That's exactly what they're doing. Don't just do Poison Ivy and then slap the absolute name on the cover. Mix it up a bit. They did a little bit. Batman's got his hands full. The interesting thing is, so if you've been reading this since we're at issue 18, Martha survived, Martha Wayne. And we're finding out more and more about it. It's like, what is Martha up to? What has she been doing? And a pretty big bombshell comes out in this issue. So it's like, what the heck does that mean? I'm not even going to hint. I'm not even going to like finish like what it's even who she's associated with. But again, okay, great. Do something it's definitely different. Okay, then there's Supergirl #11. I did not read this. I wanted to. I didn't get to it. Absolute Green Lantern. I'm not reading that. Green Lantern Corps. Not reading. I think that's all I read, right? Yeah. Emperor Aquaman, number 15. Did they change the name of that? I don't remember it being called Emperor. There was Sirens Love Hurts, number 2. There's a Harley Quinn, and I don't know who else is in there. Bleeding Hearts. What is that? Bleeding Hearts, number 2? It's a Vertigo book. Harley and Ivy, and then DC X AEW. What is AEW? Is it a wrestling thing? Some fighting thing? That's number 2. And that is it. That's basically everything I did not read. But again, it's harder for me to read the DC books because they're not as nice to me as Marvel is, and as Images and IDW and Boom and a lot of nice people out there. But that is but a lot of good comics. So we're lucky, and hopefully you are reading and enjoying more than I am. But that is going to be comic books for the week. All right, Wonder Man, Season 1, Episode 7, Kathy Friedman. So this is the penultimate episode, right? So there's one more after this. And, I got to say, I've been enjoying this series. It is not your typical Marvel show. It's, not heavy on action at all. And, I know you can say that with, WandaVision wasn't or whatever, but I just find the character development here just really intriguing. And the fact that I had such low expectation, I'm like, what is this? This isn't even Wonder Man. This is like some actor who wants to play the character in a movie. This isn't superhero show. It's like, what's going on? And I'm just so, and then I was like, wait, the Mandarin's going to be in it? So I just been really enjoying it. So I can't wait to see. I still have no idea how it ends, even though, all episodes dropped at once. I've been sticking to one per week. So with that, let's just get in. It starts off with a flashback. We see Simon's dad drops Simon and Eric at school. Eric's like, I got football practice, school, whatever. Simon's stays in the back seat, and his dad tries finding out what's up. And Simon's just looking, and there's 3 kids hassling others as they walk by. And Sanford, Simon's dad, he's like, that's quite a cough. And Simon's like, what? He's like, pretty bad. He's like, I think you might need a day off, Simon. And he's like, really? And he's like, well. And then Simon's like, and he's like, oh yeah, that's terrible. Let's go. So they go to a movie, and Sanford said that the first time he saw it, he was when he moved to the States, and the special effects might be a little corny, but they were cool at the time. So the marquee says they're going to see Wonder Man. So they're in the theater. Sanford says that he's like, I heard what happened yesterday. He's like, I know some kids were picking on him at school, and they all got in trouble. And Simon's like, well, they started it. And Sanford's like, I know how hard it can be. He's like, at this age, kids are cruel. They sniff out anyone who's different, but sometimes different can also be great. So the footage from the movie, so what we saw in the first episode, and then we see it cuts to a movie poster and a lunchbox thermos and maybe a videotape, and then opening logo, Wonder Man. So Simon's he's in a pretty fancy trailer, and there's a replica of the spaceship on a table. He has this gun replica, and he's imitating that he's shooting. He ducks and shoots. He's like, I can't give up on this planet. And he's goes over the script. The guy, I think his name's Terrence, he knocks on the door asking if he's ready. And so Simon gets driven in a golf cart. They have to go to wardrobe for an adjustment, and then hair and makeup. He's like, well, I'm a little hungry. He's like, can we swing by Crafty? And the guy's like, Terrence, he's like, oh, we can get food for you. That'll make some PA's day. So he calls someone and says, there'll be wardrobe in 5. Simon, he's like, because he's gonna get a protein shake. He's like, oh, can you add some turkey bacon? He's like, no, just. Then he's like, no, change it to regular bacon. And he's kind of being a little annoying. I don't know. Trevor's getting fitted for a suit. Simon walks in, and he's like, Simon's like, so this is where the party is. He's like, and you know where I can get some chamois? That's Esteban's homemade candy, whatever. So they laugh. And a PA comes in with bacon, and Simon, he rethinks it. He has. No, maybe his name was, no, he asked Trevor if he wants any. He's like, no. So then he tells the guy, I think the guy's name was Luca who brought it. And he's like, oh, it's your lucky day. So he leaves with the bacon. So the guy comes in with red sunglasses for Simon to try on. He's got like a box with like different ones. He says that he knows, Simon was a little concerned that they wouldn't be authentic enough. So he's like trying on different ones, but he doesn't feel they're as cool as the original. And the guy says, well, they need to reinterpret that 80s look, right? And Simon's like, well, maybe not. He's like, maybe try to get as close to the old ones as possible. So he tries like a third pair and he just hands them back. So the guy leaves. Then a lady comes in, checking in. She's like, everyone's anxious to get started. And Simon's like, any word on that dialogue change that we talked about? And she's like, yes, Von Kovac and the writer will meet you in hair and makeup. And then she asks, the wardrobe ladies, any chance that she can finish these two before the next writer strike? And they're, Then they're in hair and makeup. Von Kovac and the writer, Greta, come up. And he's like, okay, shall we discuss the offending dialogue? And Simon's like, no one said offending. He's like, no, not offending. No one said offending. He's like, that's crazy. So in scene 36, when I see Gabriella at the cocktail party, I pull her to the side right, and I say, you'll never redeem yourself to me, ever. And the writer's like, yes, so? And he's like, it's just felt a little unnatural. Von Kovac's like, yes, so? Simon's like, it just felt a little unnatural. Greta's like, well, your character is obsessed with the concept of redemption. And Von Kovac's like, it's one of the major themes of the film. Simon's like, right, but the words themselves just felt a little artificial. Greta's like, but at this point in your story, there's still a layer of artifice to Wonder Man. And he's like, see, I would argue that he's already shared a lot of his performative self by now. This comes after the baptism at All Saints, the cavern fight, and the Barnaby hospital moment. This feels like Act 1 Wonder Man. And Von Kovac's like, I wonder if this isn't a larger issue. And Simon's like, it's really just about the one line. So Von Kovac, grabs the script, and she's like, see? He's like, yeah. Now that I look at it, there is something off about this for me as well. I wonder if we need to look at the concept of redemption altogether. Simon's like, it's really just about the one line. Trevor's like, if you don't mind, I couldn't help overhearing. I was wondering if, instead of, you'll never redeem yourself to me, Simon simply says, I'll never forgive you. Greta's like, I like it. And Simon's like, that works for me. Okay, that may work. And Trevor's like, great, shall we go film some of this brilliant script? And he winks at Simon. Simon mouths like, thank you. So then this night, Simon and Trevor, they go out, they get out of a car, and they meet with Janelle at a restaurant. She asks, how's the first week? And Simon's like, okay. And she's like, just okay, Simon? He's like, yeah, I don't want to jinx anything. And Trevor's like, well, I will. It was a dream, an absolute dream. Nothing can possibly go wrong. And she's like, yes, now that's what I love to hear. Then she tells him that the team's already here. And Simon's like, oh, we team level now? So one agent dude, whatever, says they have high hopes for Wonder Man, but no matter how things shake out, they can start capitalizing on the casting news. They're already getting calls. There's a new Netflix series from Shonda Rhimes that they think he'll love. Fits perfectly with his schedule, and it's the lead. And Simon's like, okay. And then the Trevor, he's like, what do you think? And Trevor's like, sounds dreadful. Bet on yourself. Bet on Wonder Man. Don't commit to another movie or series until, he clears his throat, like imitates Von Kovac, the world has fallen in love with you. Simon laughs. Then the dude's pitching stuff. He's like, wasn't this supposed to be a Simon dinner? And Janelle's like, yes, but Simon wanted to bring Trevor, which we think is great. We love it. We love that you two have such a thing. But in all fairness, Trevor, the landscape has changed since you've been out here, so you might want to trust us on this one. And Trevor's like, yeah, you know what hasn't changed? Artistry, the craft. And she's like, And then Simon, he's like, I think you should do a play, something sophisticated and challenging. Prove you got the chops. Not in this just to make a buck. And Janelle's like, but we also want to secure a bag along the way, right, Simon? And Simon's like, Trevor's right. He's like, we should find a play. And she chuckles. She's like, Simon, you do realize we've done all this work, so you could stop doing theater? He's like, but I love theater. Then the agent dude's like, but you have an opportunity here, Simon. One, more people never get their whole career. I wouldn't be so quick to dismiss it. And he's like, nah. He's like, I trust Trevor on this, on everything, actually. And Janelle's like, we don't have to talk about this now. And then the agent dude's like, maybe we stick a pin on a Netflix show. And she's like, in some other exciting news, Kathy Friedman, which is the name of the episode, from the New York Times, she called, and she wants to do a joint profile on both of you. And Trevor's like, what? New York Times, New York Times? And she's like, the only one that exists. She heard about your journey and how you both got cast and became friends. She finds it fascinating. Trevor laughs. He's like, us? We're fascinating? She's like, this could shift your narrative. You can't ask for a higher profile than the New York Times. And the dude's like, and you can finally put the Mandarin business behind you. Show the world who you really are. And Janelle's like, she'll be on set tomorrow observing the both of you, and she'll interview you the next day. So Trevor raised a toast to Kathy Friedman and the bloody New York Times. And then he clinks like Simon's drink. Later at Simon's apartment, he's with Trevor. He's like, Kathy Friedman is bad news. He's like, bad news. And Trevor's like, why? What's wrong with Kathy Friedman? He's like, she's the most respected entertainment writer out there. Trevor's like, yeah, well, that's good. And he's like, she's also a character assassin. Listen to this. He reads from his phone. Most of Joseph Gordon-Levitt's friends and colleagues would agree on one thing. Joseph Gordon-Levitt had always needed the fame and the recognition above all else. The pigeon incident in the 5th grade wasn't an aberration. It was the first glimpse of the true Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And Trevor's like, what did he do to the pigeon? He's like, I don't know, man. I don't know, but it can't be good. And he like scrolls. He's like, how about this? Glenn Howerton stabbed his overpriced arugula salad listlessly as he might discover a modicum of charm or presence hiding under a stray slice of watermelon radish. And he's like, spoiler, he would not. Trevor's like, ouch. And he like chuckles. Simon's like, she's brutal, Trev. What if I stab my arugula salad listlessly? And he's like, never. You are very assertive with your fork. And then Simon's like, what if she finds out about my secret? And Trevor's like, well, she doesn't seem to be that kind of a journalist. She seems to be more interested in, vibes. Well, if Kathy Friedman can care about Glenn Howerton, one of the most charming dudes out there, she's going to rip me to shreds. Why would you say that? He's like, I'm not known for my fun, chill vibes. And he's like, what about the crew? They like you. He's like, no, the crew likes us. You and me together on my own, people think I'm a Richard. He didn't say Richard. He's like, okay, so we stick together. We work on being more charming. And I find it helpful to use people's names. Ask them about themselves. And Simon's like, that kind of BS actually work? Yeah, you'd be amazed. He chuckles like, trust me. Next day, opens his trailer, is introduced to Kathy Friedman. He comes out smiling. It's a pleasure, Kathy. She shakes her hand. She's like, I'm so excited to be doing this. Thank you. He's like, nah, it's an honor, Kathy, for real. He's like, Kathy, you grew up in Jersey, right? And she's like, I did, but let's not worry about me, all right? He's like, I'm worried about you, Kathy. I want to make sure you have a good time. And she's like, oh, you're sweet. You're very sweet. But I'm not here to have a good time, and I know it's a little weird when I'm observing, but I like to just be ignored. He's like, oh. She's like, just pretend I'm not here. He's like, okay. So they get in the golf cart. And it's kind of like there's like 3 rows of seats or something, It's not like a real golf cart. It's bigger than that. So they're driving. Then Simon asks the guy who got him. He's like, where's Trev? And he's like, he has a late call today. And he's like, for real? And to Kathy, he's like, we're pretty tight. And she's like, I'm not here. He's like, right, I'm sorry. And she's like, you can't apologize to someone if they're not there. He's like, poop. He's like, sorry. Oh, smooth. This ride, right? Smooth ride, right, Terrell? And he's like, yeah, man. Hey, you want to have someone grab you a banana protein shake from Crafty? And he's like, what? He's like, no. He's like, I can get that myself. And Terrence's like, come on, man. Crafty is for Gen Pop, bro. He's like, we got people for that. And Kathy starts writing something in her notebook. He's like, what? He scoffs. He's like, no, that's offensive. Gen Pop. Come on, Terrell. I like to get my own snacks. Give me a chance to chat with the crew. And he's like, right, I know, of course, I'm sorry. And Simon tries glancing at what she's writing. At set, someone talks to Simon, but he's like distracted by Kathy like standing around. Then he asks the lady, he's like, why is that Eileen? And so he's trying to make it look like he cares. So she's talking about driving in the snow. He's like asking questions, and then Trevor arrives, and he's like, sorry to interrupt. So Eileen leaves. Simon's like, late call today, and he's like, yeah, sorry about that. So Kathy walks up to them. Trevor introduces himself. He's like, and you must be the legendary Kathy Friedman. What a pleasure. And she's like, all mine. Simon's like, we're supposed to ignore her. He's like, I see, or rather, I don't see. Where'd she go? I could have sworn she was right here. And she chuckles. They walk outside the building. She follows. Simon calls out. He's like, hey, Luca. And the guy's like, he's like, you know my name? He's like, oh, come on, Luca. I keep hearing you're a Bruins fan. And Luca's like, didn't know you liked the Bruins. He's like, I don't. And there's a slight awkward pause. Trevor cuts in. He's like, what you got there, Luca? And he's like, a birthday gift for Mara and wardrobe. He's like, I should go get this over to her. Simon's like, hey, Terrell. He's like, can you go out and grab something for Mara's birthday for me and Trev? The guy's like, of course. He's like, what do you want? And then Trevor, he's like, what do we want to get her? And Simon's like, there's a fabulous chocolatier in Beverly Hills, Edelweiss. And the guy's like, Beverly Hills? And Simon's like, is that a problem? He's like, it's going to be expensive. And Trevor's like, this is Mara we're talking about. And Simon's like, right. He's like, we love Mara. So Kathy smiles. And Terrence looks on his phone. He's like, $650? Simon turns to Trevor. He's like, do we love Mara that much? He's like, yes, it's worth it. Trust me. So they start walking. Trevor says, he's like, you know who would never think of buying fancy chocolates for the wardrobe lady's birthday? And Simon's like, who? He's like, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And Simon's like, oh, right. Probably out murdering pigeons. They laugh. And Trevor's like, I think that's it. And he's like, what else could it be? He's like, what else could it be? Later, Kathy thanks them both. She apologized if it was a little awkward. And Trevor's like, you kidding? He's like, we forgot you were even here. He laughs. And Simon's like, yeah, for real. This is just a normal day. And she's like, before I let you go, Simon, I meant to ask you, are there any friends I should reach out to for the profile? And he's like, oh, friends? She's like, anyone who could talk to me about your journey as an actor over the past few years, other than Trevor and Vivian, of course. And he's like, Vivian? And that's us. I was like, who's Vivian? And Kathy's like, your former girlfriend, Vivian. I spoke with her yesterday. He's like, oh, cool. No, that would do it. And she's like, okay, well, I will let you two relax. I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. And Trevor's like, I'm sure your ex, to Simon, she's gone. He's like, I'm sure your ex only had lovely things to say. And Simon's like, just gives him a look like, are you crazy? Later, Simon sits at like a fancy bar. Vivian walks up. He's like, hey. And she's like, hey. So then a slight awkward hug. She sits at the bar. He's like, are you doing the same drink, like some martini or something like that? And she's like, I'll just have, water. And he's like, thank you for coming. And she's like, well, it sounded kind of urgent. He's like, oh, nah. I just realized we hadn't talked since you moved out. And she's like, really? This isn't about the Kathy Friedman profile? And he's like, and he chuckles. No, if I'm going to be honest, yes, but he laughs. And she's like, I know. He's like, I did think it was a good excuse to catch up. I didn't even know you were still in LA. She's like, yeah, it's crazy. I was all set to go, truly, and I actually booked something. He's like, really? He's like, no, I mean, good for you. Which is, that was kind of rude. And she's like, yeah, it's just a small part in the next season of Severance. He's like, wow, that's a great show. And she's like, yeah, it's no wonder, man, but I did have a costume fitting. It's exciting to see such a big production. I never had a character with more than one look before. And Simon's like, oh man, costume fittings? He chuckles. He's like, yeah, you wouldn't believe how much work went into my look for Wonder Man. Von Kovac is super specific about the look. There's been sketches and fittings and camera tests and stunt tests, just whole days where it's just about, can I do the stunts in the suit? I think they said they spent and he whispers $500,000 on the suit alone. It's crazy. But so it's like, she's talking about, she's excited about her gig, and he doesn't even ask anything like, oh, what's it like? How many days? And he just jumps in oh man, my suit and $500,000. So she's like, crazy, and like chuckles. And he's like, damn. He's like, look, I know you must have been pretty frustrated with me at the end. She's like, well, you can sometimes be self-centered, Richard. And he's like, I know. And he chuckles. He's like, I know. I'm not great at relationships. He's like, there's a lot of reasons for that, but I'm working on it. I'm trying to be more open. I'm trying to be, like, breathes deeply, like, less self-centered. And she's like, Simon, I know why you're concerned about me and this article, okay? But you're safe. I didn't say anything about your, and she whispers, secret. And he gives her like a confused look. He's like, my secret? And he like chuckles. She's like, Simon, I know. We lived together. I loved you. I knew for a long time that you are different. I didn't want to say anything because I didn't feel it was my place. And of course, I understood why you had to be careful, why no one could know, but you could have trusted me. I was always waiting for you to trust me. And I hope one day you find someone that you can trust, someone you can really be yourself with. She's like, bye, Simon. And she gets up and leaves. But the question is, how did Cleary know at damage control? So next day, Trevor asks Simon, how's he feeling? He's like, worried. And Trevor's like, of course you are. You wouldn't be you otherwise. It's going to be great. Simon's phone buzzes, and he's like, he takes it. He's like, hey, Mummy. And she's like, guess who talked to the New York Times? And he's like, is that right? She's like, that's right. The woman wanted to know all about my beautiful boy. He's like, what did you tell her? Only how wonderful you are, Sherry. And he's like, you didn't say anything about the fire? And she's like, no, I wouldn't do that. And he's like, or your birthday party? And she's like, Simon, don't be ridiculous. And he's like, phew. And he like sighs. He's like, okay, I got to run. I'm about to sit down with her right now. And she's like, that's wonderful. Say hello to her from me and Eric. He's like, Eric? He's like, yes, he talked to her earlier. And he's like, okay. He's like, bye-bye. And Trevor like comes back. He's like, what is it? He's like, my brother. Kathy talked to Eric. He's like, oh, no. Simon starts like, gets on his phone. He's like, why didn't you think of my brother? And he's like, he's not answering. It's like, this dude has been waiting his whole life to ruin me. He must have told her everything. He's so thrilled he finally, got me. It's like, my little brother can't act anymore. It's like, that's for sure. It's like, no more creative BS. And Trevor's like, you don't know that for sure. It's like, put it out of your head. He takes a deep breath. Like, remember your box breathing. And Kathy's like walking up. He's like, now, hold for 5. Exhale slowly for 5. Trevor notices Kathy. And she's like, hey, you two. Oh, so excited about our chat. Simon turns. He's like, not as excited as we are. And she's like, I figured a studio restaurant would be the easiest. So we got the place to ourselves. And Trevor's like, splendid. So inside, Trevor's like, I know that you spoke with my brother. She's like, yes, I spoke with him and your mother earlier this week. Simon's like, my brother and I, we have a complicated relationship. And she's like, really? Well, that's interesting. Why is it complicated? He's like, he's like, what did Eric say? And she's like, nothing but lovely things. How long you struggled, how few people believed in you, including him. He's so proud of you. It's really beautiful. And Simon like chuckles. He's like, cool. He's like, that's beautiful. That's great. And she's like, in general, everything that I've learned about your journey has been inspiring. The difficulties your parents faced coming from Haiti and the loss of your father. She's like, I can't wait to get into all that. But I wanted to start with Mr. Slattery first, if we could. Trevor's like, I know you couldn't talk to my mom, so I brought some old photos to show you. I was 10 when the acting bug first bit. My first audience was my dear old mom, Dorothy. And she's like, ooh. And he's like, that's my mom. She's like showing her pictures. She's like, yeah, these are all lovely. I think we can work our way back to that. I want to start with your recent past. And Trevor's like, oh? She's like, so you arrived back in Los Angeles a few months ago. Is that correct? He's like, that is correct, dear. I came back to prove to my mom that her faith in me wasn't misplaced. And here we are in a Von Kovac movie. She's like, well, I spoke to several witnesses who said you were arrested when you landed in LAX. Trevor laughs. Simon chuckles. He's like, are you sure about that? And she's like, I'm quite sure. I spoke to 4 different people, and one of them took this video. And he like looks like, I don't think that's me. And she's like, and you were broken out of prison before finishing your sentence, isn't that right? And he's like, no, that's not entirely true. And she's like, okay, So when did you finish serving your time? And he's like, bloody New York Times. You think they'd get their facts straight? And Simon's just like listening to all this, like intently. She's like, I just find the pivot from fugitive to a movie star to be so fascinating. I'm curious about the details. He's like, fugitive? I'm not a fugitive. And she's like, did you work out a deal with the government? Work out a deal? I didn't work out a deal. I would never work out a deal. And she's like, well, I just don't quite understand how it is that you're able to be sitting here, Mr. Slattery. I just need some help filling in the blanks. And he's like, why do you keep calling me Mr. Slattery when you call him Simon? She's like, I can understand this can be a pretty sensitive subject. You're bloody right. You're trying to turn me into Joseph Gordon-Levitt, aren't you? Well, you won't. I never murdered any bloody pigeons. I'm an actor. That's all I've ever wanted. And I don't need to hear any more of this. Kathy Bloody Friedman. He gets up and walks out. And Simon's like kind of shocked. And she's like, sorry, I know you two are close. Simon's like thinking. She's like, Simon, do you want a minute? Later, Simon enters Trevor's trailer. It's like, what was that? And he's like, you were right about this woman. Bloody character assassin. He's like, so you weren't arrested? And he's like, no. Well, yes, I was. But and he's like, but you didn't make a deal. And he's like, technically, yes, I did. But like, Trevor, just tell me what the hell's going on. So Trevor breathes deeply, like sighs. I've been working for the Department of Damage Control. And he sighs. He's like, you've been spying on me? And Trevor's like, gathering information. And Simon's like, so Midnight Cowboy? Trevor doesn't say anything. The audition? Trevor doesn't say anything. My mom's birthday? Trevor doesn't say anything. You've been getting dirt on me this whole time? It's like, Simon, I didn't know you when this all started. And Simon's like, and I fell for it. I just bought the whole thing like an idiot. I thought you were my friend. He's like, I am. I bought you time. I haven't given them anything big. He's like, you're a con man. And Trevor's like, I can figure a way out of this. And he's like, how? He's like, I don't know. And Simon's like, right. And he's like, that's a hell of a performance, man. And he walks out. Simon walks back to his trailer. It's like dark out. He's breathing heavy. He goes into like the set building, and like stuff's like starting to vibrate and shake. And he yells, whoosh. The stuff just disintegrates. There's smoke and dust flies like out of the building. Power goes out, and it comes back on. Kathy's like still on the lot, like walking out, like headed towards the gate. And then we see Simon standing in it's almost like a crater. It's not like a huge crater. And there's just like ashes and dust falling in the room. He like breathes heavy, and there's like sirens in the distance. And that's the end of the episode. So it's like, how are you going to explain this? How are you going to explain when this room, this building, everything inside has just been destroyed? And it's still a question. How is Trevor going to get out of this with the damage control? So I don't know. It's a bit of a mess, but we got, I believe, one episode left. All right, then we have the season finale of Hijack, Season 2, Episode 8, Terminal. So this is it. I'm just going to jump into it again because it's late and time and all that. So it starts off, Marco, that's the bomb maker. So he was on a plane, the good detective, as I'm calling him. He gets on a plane just as Marco thought he's taken off. So he tells the good detective, he's in the back of like squad car or something like that, and he tells him he's wasting his time. And the detective's like, who are you working for? And Marco, Marco, whatever his name is, I think his real name is Joseph. He's like, even if I knew, I wouldn't tell you. He's like, the guy's evil. And the detective says, well, the bomb that you made will kill hundreds. Then he says, the jet was supposed to take him back to Poland. He's like, aren't you worried about your girlfriend, about your baby? He's like, if you ever want to see them again, you got to help defuse those bombs. And Marco's like, well, there's one problem with that. Okay. Then it cuts to the train. Someone's calling Sam. And he's like, who is this? It's Olivia Thatcher. He's like, what are you doing there? And she's like, I've been in contact with Marcia. She's like, we know you're worried about her. We know that you're doing all this for her. He's like, you've been in touch with Marcia? And then Winter like nods, and so Olivia plays the recording, or someone plays the recording, and then he like closes his eyes, and then when she says she's got to go and everything, he's like, is she safe? And Olivia's like, we're working on it, and he's like, that's not good enough. And she says that she doesn't want you to do this, and he's like, no, she's sacrificing herself, and I won't let her do that. And Olivia's like, even if it means you sacrificing yourself, it's like, you're helping your son's killer escape. He's like, that's the deal I've had to make. And if you want to save these passengers, then the handover must go ahead. And I know that's not my normal Idris Elba voice, but I don't know, it's like I said, it's late. Then we see like a shot at a bomb, and it's like master override, standby, and there's like the option standby, armed or whatever, but it's still on standby. At the prison, on the radio, someone's asked, he's like, taking someone for his walkies. So there's that shady prison guard. She says that the someone had him indoors all day. So she takes Stewart down through this exit door, and they're on the security cameras outside. He like walks up to this fence, and then he's like just kind of standing there. It's like, is he just like staring at the camera or whatever? But then we see him. He slips something out of his sleeve into his hand, and so I think it's like a little tiny phone or something like that. Because then he ends up putting like an earpiece in. But that's where this scene ends. So officers are still calling Linder, and I was like, wait, now I'm confused. Like, who's Linder? I noticed Linder, but because at first I thought it was a guy that Shady Detective killed, but I think he's Linder. He gets a call from Stewart, so Stewart is calling him. So it's like, wait, Stewart is involved with this, and he's like, I don't know what's worse, the fact that you lost control or the fact that you don't realize it. Shady is like, it'll be done within hours. And then Stewart's like, tell me about your Scottish friends. And Shady Detective's like, what about them? And Shady's like, the hostage has given them the slip, and if she's not in play, it's game over. Guess who ain't getting his cut? So yeah, Shady is Lang, but I don't like calling him Lang. Because now we're thinking about it. At this point, someone's like, hey Lang, we got to get going. And so they're calling him. But Stewart's like, it's not just Marcia. He's like, now I got her little piggy boyfriend sticking his snout in. He's like, this can't come back on me. And Shady, Lang, whatever, he's like, well, the other option is I just blow the train right now, take Nelson out. And Stewart's like, Nelson's only half the deal. And Shady's like, well then, you'll just have to pay me half. And Stewart's like, no, it's all or nothing. Bailey Brown needs to be on the train, even if it means putting him on there yourself. And then the call ends. So Shady, Lang, he gets back to the car for the Bailey Brown convoy, and then Stewart takes the earpiece out. The officer dude at control with Winter's guy says that the convoy, the ETA is 20 minutes. So Olivia comes and asks if she's like, are you really doing this? Giving up a prisoner on live TV? She's like, you'll be crucified. And Winter's like, until we know who controls the bombs, we have no choice. And she's like, how many hostages are on the train? And I think is that the officer dude's like, we rescued 54 people. There's at least another 100 on board. But then why did he keep saying, hundreds are under? It's like, it's only 100 and a half. It's not hundreds. It's not even 200. Then Winter's like, okay, well, just because the press want a show doesn't mean we have to give them one. So get down there. So then the good detective, he arrives at the train yard, I think. So he's like, there's like lots of ambulances and police and fire trucks, and there's some press, waiting there. Officer tells him the distraction is good. They'll approach the train from the rear. They'll inspect the explosives underneath. And he says, he's like, well, I got some bad news about that. He's like, I interviewed the bomb maker. And then whatever person he's talking to is like, is it a collapsing circuit? And he's like, the only person who can stop this is the one holding the trigger. And then he like walks off, and then he starts like staring at the tracks. And he's like, no man's land. On the train, they're approaching the station. Otto tells Sam, a few more minutes, and they'll be out of the tunnel. Sam says just get them to the depot, and then it's over for Otto. And Otto's like, but not for you. And Sam's like, no, not for me. Up in Inverness, the helicopter's flying around. It's night. They got like a search beam, looking for Marcia in all the trees. And, they're at the location, at the pin drop that she put on her phone, but there's no signs of life. Then we see something. At first I was like, is that Marcia? She passed out, but it might have been her jacket. I don't know. Oliver asks Winter if they have anything, and Winter says that they've identified the female hijacker. Her real name is Mona Hakimi. She's a combat medic trained by Moroccan Special Forces. And then she's like, you might want to look away for this next bit. So there's several like bloody shots of her to come up on the screen when, on the train when she was shot. She's like, we're running her name through various databases, but so far we haven't found anything. And then I think it was Olivia. She's like, wait. She's like, the tattoo, there's a tattoo on her wrist. She's like, it must be who Sam was meeting at the bar. And Winter's like, what bar? Olivia hands Winter like a folder that has like the Foxhole drink coaster. And Winter's like, yeah, it's popular with military veterans. And Olivia's like, Sam wanted us to find that. He wanted us to know who was setting him up. And she's like, that was clever. And Olivia's like, but sadly, she can't tell us who she was working for. And it's like, no, because Gung-Ho Wolf and his men shot her. And Winter's like, no, but this is good. We're getting close. Keep working on it. And then she asks Mr. Deal, what's the latest position of the train? And then there's with all the information, all the stuff that they're finding out, there's a photo of Jess, or Mona, whatever her name is, with a squad of troops, and Shady Detective is one of them. But no one hasn't seen that because I guess they're not looking that carefully. Faber arrives at the other station where the handoff was supposed to be, where there's a dead body down there. There's one guy at the top. He says apparently someone went missing. Faber gets a phone call, and he says, Marcia's message made no difference. Olivia says that both Winter and Sam seem focused on getting the passengers off the train, so one way or the other. And Faber says that they're prepared to put Bailey Brown on a train, even though nobody knows who's pulling the strings. Olivia, she's like, the people behind us, like they're mercenaries, and he's like ex-military, and she's like, looks like it. And they all met here in Berlin. And Faber's like, someone on the inside. Shady Detective, Lang, he's told they're 5 minutes from the depot, and then Shady's like, well, let's hope your train's on time. At the countryside, the shotgun dude says that they need to find Marcia before the people in helicopters do. The lady's like, she won't risk the high ground again. And, they're going to have to refuel before too long. Daniel hears, from the copter, there's still no signs. He's in a car with Zara. And she's like, even if they drove straight, they wouldn't make it in time. So their best bet is to stop things here. And they're at the prison. So Olivia tells Winter that she spoke with Faber. He thinks it's an inside man. Maybe that's who Sam was trying to lead them to. Winter reads from the report, eyewitness described a man as a British officer type. She's like, if Faber believed that this is an inside man, maybe it's one of his. Which is like, nice deflection there. You're trying to say it's all his fault. So news reports mention the side of the train believed to have been hijacked. So it's like they're getting their information from the news instead of like actual agents or whatever. The train is above ground now. Sam and Otto see like the lights, waiting at the station. Sam tells Otto to kill the lights because he doesn't want them seeing inside. They get on he gets on the radio to the train to all the passengers. He's like, listen up. I'm going to kill the lights for your safety. Now, we are almost there, but you have to listen to my instructions because not one single person is safe until you are all off the train. Now, I know that you have been on this train for a long time, but this is the end of the line, and I swear on my life, okay, you will get off. You will. I still don't understand the idea. It's like, okay, let all the passengers off, and then they'll put John Bailey Brown on. But it's like, once the passengers are off, what is the incentive of them, following through? I still don't understand that. Train pulls up. Guard says, maintain safe perimeter. There's lots of spotlights on the train. Otto's asks, he's like, and when they're all off, what then? Sam's like, I guess I'll find out. And Otto's like, and what will I tell them? He's like, well, you tell them the truth, that you were forced to do it. And he's like, ha. He's like, I wasn't forced to do this. I was paid. I took the money. I wish I hadn't. It's like, I don't want it. And he's like, Otto, you saved lives. He's like, doesn't really feel like it. So Sam gets on the radio. He's like, okay, Clara, this is it. And she's like, we see you, Sam. And he's like, do you have an update on Marcia? And Clara spins and looks at Winter. Winter looks at Olivia, shakes her head. And she's like, I'm sorry, Sam. The helicopter's still searching. They say they're going to have to call this soon. The co-pilot wants to, go around one more time. And Marcia's still like hiding in the woods. We see her, so she's still alive. Guard at the prison says he doesn't use his weekly calls, never has. He's not stupid enough. And Zara's like, any visitors? And he's like, you can check the logs, but he's not a popular boy. Keeps his head down. He's a bit of a sad case, if you ask me. And Daniel's like, BS. He's like, he's speaking to someone. He has to be. And he's like, you've just missed it. And then this guard dude, he's like, this place is watertight. CCTV everywhere, including the cells. Not to mention the fact that her lot, Zara, had put audio taps in most of them. So if we missed something, so have you. Then Zara notices that he's gone. It's like, where's he been? And the dude's like, he's just back from exercise. And, because he knows the rules, he's like that when he likes to get his steps in. And Daniel's like, he went out as soon as he got back? And he's like, pretty much, yeah. And Zara and Daniel like give each other a look, and the guard's like, crap. So he radios for them to hold up. He walks up to the steward and says, arms out. And Stewart's like, oh, give it a rest. And he's like, you know the drill. So Stewart holds his arms out. As I don't know if the guy, I remember if his name was Gregory or something, because I think Stewart calls him Greg Z or something like that. But he looks at the shady lady guard, and he's like, what's this? He like pulls out his necklace. It's like, it's my mother's wedding ring. My brother's chain. And then he's like, you really going to take that off me? And then he's like, go on. So he tells him to go. So I guess it isn't, because like he didn't even check his forearms. But then in his cell, I guess it wouldn't have mattered. Lady guard says to Stewart, she's like, no more, I'm done. And she hands him his phone or whatever thing. And he's like, the people who work for me, I decide when they're done. And then he closes the door on her. And then he sits on his bed and he like watches the news because he's got a TV in his cell, which is very nice, I guess. It's a small TV, but still. Convoy arrives at the location. One officer asks, where's the other guy, that he was at the station. He says Bailey Brown isn't going anywhere until all the hostages are safe. So they bring him into this building, like by the tracks. Sam asks Clara for an update. He's like, where's Bailey Brown? She says the police are bringing him into the depot now. They're going to wait outside the blast radius, and they'll have him out in front of the train. And Otto asks Sam, he's like, is that him? And Sam radios that he's sending the passengers out one by one. Clara's like, thank you. And once the final hostage is released, then they'll send the prisoner, to the train. But again, I still understand why they would do this. To Otto, Sam says that, he's going to need his help. He's like, before you go, just lead the way. Make sure the passengers get off safe. He's like, of course, that's my job. Sam shakes his hand. He's like, take care. So Sam gets into the passenger car, opens the door, and he says, one by one, follow the driver. Walk straight to the police. Don't run or turn around. It's over. And he's like, go. So teacher one goes first. The bomb still shows us on standby. Sam calls out one by one, nice and slow, just like I said. Shady detective's like, I'd rather be getting off that train than getting on it. And John Bailey Brown's like, yeah, well, I'll take whatever's coming. Faber checks out the station where the handoff was supposed to be. He goes down there where the dead cop is. He asks, like, what's beyond this one door. So the guard's like, oh, that's my old domain. It's all computers now. The door is locked, and then Faber's like, can you open it? So he opens the door. And he's like, I think we found him. Officer down. So they found the guy. At the depot, it's just like Faber's like a detective, like a hound dog or whatever. He finds a missing body right away. At the depot, for some reason, an officer comes up to this other guy that's with Shady, and John Bailey Brown asks him to come with him. So the dude uncuffs him. I mean, there is a reason. So he uncuffs John Bailey Brown. He goes over. The dude tells him, like, we found your colleague. So they're like, he's dead. John Bailey Brown asks Shady, he's like, so what's the deal, What's him on there? And Shady's like, just go with it. He's like, just go with it? Go with what? He's like, you haven't told me anything. Where am I headed? And he's like, just shut up and play along before they pull a plug. And Otto's like standing nearby. So I was like, I think it seems like, I'm assuming he could hear him. Because, he's like looking over at them. And he's like, pull the plug. So May is the last one. And she asks Sam, you're coming too, right? And he's like, May, just go. He's like, get off of here. You're annoying. Bailey Brown asked Shady, he's like, and Nelson, what's the plans for him, eh? And he's like, why do you care? He's like, I don't. But how are you going to protect me against him? And he's like, well, he's not armed, is he? So just relax. He's like, nah, I'm not getting on that train until you level with me. And Otto's like still standing around. I don't know if he's trying to listen. And then stupid May stops. She's like, come on, I'm the last one. And Otto's like, no, I can't. And she's like, don't worry, I'll vouch for you. And then you can hear like John Bailey Brown's like, this is turning into a joke. And Otto's like, I'm not worried about me. And then Shady's like, he's like, don't cause a scene. And then he's like, I have to go back. And he tells like May to go. On a train, Otto's like, Sam, this isn't what you think. He's like, Otto, what are you doing here? Get out of here. And he's like, no, something's not right. Look at him. Does he look happy to be escaping? He's like, no. And he's like, so what's this? What's he even doing here? And Otto's like, who? He's like, that's the guy we've been talking to. So Otto's like, the guy with the detonator? He's like, yes. He's like, you're pooping me. He's like, no. It's like, that's good. And Otto's like, why is that good? He's like, I'm prepared to die today, but I bet the guy with the detonator isn't. Faber calls Olivia. He says, he's like, Robert Lang. And she's like, your colleague? He's like, yes, he's ex-military. He had access to everything, perfectly placed to run the whole operation right under my fudging nose. And she's like, that must be who Sam met. He's like, yes, and trust me, he's not afraid to get his hands dirty. And she's like, okay, do you know where he is? And Faber's like, where do you reckon? And she turns the screen, and she's like, oh, God. She walks closer to Winter, and she's like, that's him. So Shady, Lang, whatever, and Bailey Brown are on a train. Bailey Brown's like, no. It's like, this stinks. So, and then Shady handcuffs him to a pole. He's like, what are you doing? And he's like, it's for the best. He's like, Nelson. Bailey Brown's like, get me out of these, Lang. He's like, what are you doing? Lang, what are you doing? Train starts moving backwards. So everyone at control is confused. Winter asks, like, what the hell is Sam doing? Olivia says that he's staying smart. If Lang is a trigger man, Sam knows that he won't blow the train while he's on it. John Bailey Brown says, I thought you were in control here, Lang. He's like, where are we going? Where's Nelson? So Lang pulls out his gun, and he's like, well, there's only one place he can be. So he walks down the train, and for some reason, he like shoots 3 times at the glass in the door of the next car. And then the train re-enters the tunnels. John Bailey Brown's freaking out. He's like pulling at the cuff. Lang returns. Bailey Brown's like, you lied to me. It's like, what is this? Get me out of this, Lang. Lang just like walks past. And he shoots like Bailey Brown like in a leg or foot or something like that. He like screams and curses, goes down. Lang moves forward and finds Otto at the control. He's like, where is he? And Otto's like, I don't know. He's like, that was a nice trick, but let me ask you again. He holds the gun up to like Otto's neck. He's like, where is he? And then the radio speaker comes on. You were right the first time. So come on then. What you got? So he walks out. He like shoots again. No, I would have thought you were a better shot than that. Pew! Try again. Pew! And then he looks at his gun, and you can see Sam on the other side of the door. So it's like, I'm not sure how many bullets he has or whatever. And then the guy, Shady's like, all right, let's do this another way. He holds up the detonator and arms it. And Sam's like, I don't think you've got it in you, Lang. And I know what you'd say. You'll just kill Marcia. He's like, one message, that's all it takes. And Sam's like, that's why I want to offer you a deal. So Marcia, she had gathered a bunch of like kindling and stuff, like around a tree, and she lights it. And so she's like out by the cabin, but it's like really slow to catch. So it's not really starting. Sam walks forward, and Lang's like, that's it, nice and slow. Sam's like, you want us both dead, okay? I get it, but trust me, I have no reason to want to keep him alive. It's the least he deserves for what he did to Kai. Bailey Brown's like, cripes. He's like, who the hell is Kai? He's like, Kai is my son. My son, you murdered him. And he laughs. He's like, you know Kai. And Bailey Brown is like, is that what he's made you think? It's the only way he could get you to do what he wanted. And Sam's like, he like rushes towards Lang, and he's like, I wouldn't do that if I were you. He holds up his gun. He's like, not unless you want to lose Marcia. And he's like, fudge you. Marcia grabs like a kerosene lantern from the cabin. She throws it at the pile of wood. That does the trick. Whoosh. She goes back inside, like bolts the door. And then Lang's like, so go on then. What's your deal? And Sam's like, kill us both. You go quietly. Just let Marcia live. That's all I ask. And Lang, shady, is like, I'm sorry. But then Otto like turns back and looks at him. But Lang's like, that doesn't quite do it for me. And then he texts, finish it. And Sam's like, that's what I thought you'd say. So he nods at Otto. Otto slams on the brakes. Lang falls. Sam rushes since, he was prepared. He tackles Lang. The detonator falls out of his hand. Otto calls to Sam. Sam tells him just to go. Lang gets the detonator again. He goes towards like the back of the train. Otto checks on Sam and says, they need to get out. Helicopter sees a fire, so they figure it must be her. They're a little ways away, but not sure if they can make it. So, they're going to find out. Lady and shotgun dude make their way to the cabin with the dogs. Marcia's like sitting on the floor inside with an axe, the axe that she was using before. Lang is off the train, and he goes down the tracks. He ducks behind this like some barrier or something like that, and then boom. So he looks back, but it doesn't look that bad, and he seems satisfied. But so Otto, like Sam and John Bailey Brown, did they get clear? Are they dead now? At control, they stare at a map screen, and Olivia's like, it's over. And, it's like, that's what that means, right? They've detonated. Clara gives like a small nod, and she's like, how far is that from here? And Clara's like, about 5 minutes on foot. Why? And Winter's like, Olivia, it's not safe. She grabs her stuff. She makes a call and leaves. Stewart is watching the news. There's smoke rising from the area, from the underground system. Eyewitnesses have spoken of a loud blast. He grabs his jacket, but then he puts it back down. He sits on the toilet because like he's going to make a call. Lang goes up some stairs. Stewart's like in a spot where the camera can't see him. There's actually a barrier there because you can just see, you can't see him fully. And then Greg or whatever his name is, he's watching the monitors. Then he puts like a headphone to his ears to try to listen. Stewart's like, you don't call me, I call you. It's like, the system. And Lang, shady, he's like, it's done, they're dead. And Stewart's like, both of them? He's like, yes. And Stewart's like, well, that's good. So what's the problem? And Lang's like, they know it's me. I need an exit, and you're going to have to pay me more. Gregory tells Zara, it's like, you might want to have a listen to this. So it's like, what's done is done, Lang. It's like, you don't get to change the terms now. And she's like, are you recording this? And he's like, I am now. It's like, dude. So Stewart's like, Cheapside's my firm now. I'm king of the hill. So basically, Stewart's like, get John Bailey Brown so we can kill him, and I'll just take all the glory and everything. So he's like, I'm king of the hill. They can't touch me. Lang's like, yeah, because of me. And Stewart's like, if they're both dead, like I asked, then you'll get your cut of the kingdom money, like we agreed. But then we see Sam and Otto running down the tracks. So Lang starts like going up, and Stewart hears something, and he's like, what's that? And Lang goes up some more, and Sam goes after him. Zara says, she's like, we got him. Stewart gets up, goes to the TV. Stewart's still like wearing the headset and like holding the device. Lang exits this hatch. He's like street level. Sam's like right behind him, yells his name. Lang. Lang runs. Sam starts chasing him. Police say, suspect on foot, heading east along the river. So the fire has started to spread to the cabin. Shotgun dude, he's like pushing at the door. He kicks the door open, and he's like aiming the gun inside. Helicopter sees the lady and the dogs, and they call down to step away from the property. Armed officers are underway. Officers and soldiers catch up to Shady, Lang, whatever. They order him to his knees, hands up, or hands behind his head. He's like, both of you. And so Sam goes to his knees. The helicopter says 2 suspects identified. They're giving themselves up. Stand by for update on the victim. So the shotgun dude, you see him like slowly put the shotgun down. He's keeping his hands, raised. There's laser targets all over Lang, like all the green laser sightings. Faber yells, "It's over, Robert." And someone else is like, "On your knees." But he still won't go down. He does like a turn while his hands are still up, and he looks at Sam, because Sam's like behind him, like on his knees. And then it's like he starts reaching into his vest, and they're like, "Stop moving." Sam's like, "I wouldn't do that if I were you." And he's like, "You know what this is?" And he's like, "I've got a good idea." He's like, "So he's never going to stop." And Sam's like, "I'm the only one. What's left?" And then they're like, "Final warning, move again and we'll shoot." So he just like stands there, and then he suddenly reaches into his like jacket, and Sam's like, "No." Faber's like kind of shocked, and what was Lang reaching for? His phone. The helicopter says that they're seeing movement in the cabin. Stand by. Marcia sees shotgun dude with his hands up, like through the window. Sam thinks Marcia's dead. There's a news report that it's not really complete. Guards tell Stewart to step away from the door. They open it, and he throws his like phone device at them and yells. He's like, come on. He charges at them through the door. It's like, dude, what are you thinking? They quickly grab him and pin him down. Daniel and Zara, they walk up to the outer gate. Daniel like squats down to Stewart's face. He's like, "Sam's alive. So's Marcia. All you ever achieved is to destroy your own family." And Daniel turns to walk away, and Stewart's still on the ground. He yells, he's like, "Get back here. Get back here. I'll kill you. I'll kill you. You know who I am? You know who I am?" Students get on the bus, and some are complaining, whatever. May gets out as well. Good detective stands, and he looks at the empty train yard. Winter talks to the chancellor. She's like, "All the hostages are safe. Thank you." It's like, there were a lot of people involved. And she like raises a hand to Clara. She's like, "If you'll excuse me, there's still a lot of work to do." So Clara like stands and is looking at like the big screen. Mr. Deal announces the network is back up and running. It could be a long night. Clara gets ready to sit back in her station. Mr. Deal calls her name. He tells her to go home, get some sleep. She's says it's all good. She has fresh coffee. He tells her like, "Your shift is over," and she's like, "My shift was over 8 hours ago." So he takes her coffee. He's like, "Thank you very much," and then he takes a drink from it. He's like, "Did she have any whatever?" She looks at the screen. They lights up for all the trains. She heads out. Mr. Deal sits at his like master station. So trains are shown back up and running. Lang's body still on the ground. Faber says, he says that he was blinded by his obsession, and Sam's like, "You and me both." So then he's sitting on the back of an ambulance, and Olivia walks up. "Sam?" And he's like, "Olivia?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's just returning some lost property." So she hands him his phone. And she's like, "I thought you might want to call her." So he like looks at Olivia. He's like, "Is she safe?" And Olivia's like, "Yeah." So he gets kind of teary. He's like, "Thank you." So he gets up, walks away. He's like, is he allowed to just leave? But he calls Marcia. "Sam?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm here." "Yes, I'm right here." And that's the end. So problem solved. But could there be a season 3? I don't know if we need one. But we still got Stewart. He's still alive. But is he done? Does he have any power? I don't know. But basically, this whole thing was, I guess he wanted to kill John Bailey Brown. Wasn't John Bailey Brown his dad? So now I'm getting confused. But because he was in charge of everything. But now Stewart wanted to be in charge. But even if he's in charge, like what, he's going to be sitting in jail while he's in charge? Like, okay. But yeah, so there you go. That has been season 2 of Hijack. It started off really strong. It was still good, but not as good as it was in the beginning of the season. But there you go. So that has been Hijack. Okay. Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, Season 2, Episode 2, Resonance. My little hesitation there is somehow the recording paused between Hijack in this, and was a little ways in my recap, and then I looked down. I was like, "Wait, why is that flashing?" I was like, "It's paused." So, take two. All right, so just starting. I'm enjoying the show. It starts off. It picks up from the end of last episode, different perspective. We see like King Kong running through like on the island. He gets to the water, gets like waist level, like hits, slams the water with his fist, thumps his chest, looks up at the helicopter, roars at it. Lee, Kurt Russell sees him, like squeezes his eyes shut. She's like, "Are you all right?" And she's like, "How does it feel?" And he's like, "About the same as coming back from a 3-day pass in Manila." He's like, "It's a hell of a lot better than last time." And then he's like, Did you see it? Did you recognize it? And he's like, "The Titan? You've seen it before?" And he's like, "Yeah." Then Lee sees the Outpost 18 ship. He's like, "Great, good old Monarch." He's like, "Poop." So the copter lands. They get off. A little squeegee critter plops off the back of the helicopter and scampers off. So then we get a shot from below the water. The big tentacle Titan swims by. So they're detecting an outpost. It's headed into the South China Sea. So evac is already on the way. So this guy at the controls is like, "What are your orders, sir?" He's like talking to Tim. He's like, "Sir." It's Tim. He's like, "You're talking to me?" He's like, "The deputy director is off the board." And Tim's like, "Off the board? Is that what you call it?" And he's like, "Sir?" He's like, "She has a daughter. Jesus." He's like, "I'm sorry, sir, but you're next in the chain of command." He's like, "No, no, 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 no." He's like, "We have to talk to Director Barris. Get Director Barris on the phone." And they're like, "Unable. The comms are down. Satellite uplink is offline." And Tim's like, "How long does it take to fix?" He's like, "We're working to boost the signal, sir, but we may need to get out of range of the interference." And Tim's like, "Are you telling me that no one knows about the Titan?" And he's like, "What are your orders?" Then Lee walks in the command center. He's like, "Why aren't we moving?" And Tim's like, "What the hell is he doing here?" And Tim's like, "Nice to see you too. What's your name again?" He's like, "I'm Tim." He's like, "Hang on a second. Is that it?" Looking at the screen. This lady at one of the controls is like, "Affirm, almost at the edge of our range." And Shaw's like, "So, why aren't we going after it?" I was like, "All right, who's in charge here?" The lady kind of looks away. The dude nods towards Tim. He's like, "Him?" And the guy's like, "Yes." And Tim's like, "No, no, no." It's like, "Just hang on. No." And then Shaw's like, "Let's go, Monarch." It's like, "You're giving it too much time." And Tim's like, "We have to wait for orders from Washington. We don't have time for bureaucracy. If that makes landfall in a populated area, you're looking at another G-Day." And Kaiko's like, "What was G-Day?" And Shaw's like, "Monarch's greatest failure." And Tim's like, "Colonel, this is not a warship. I don't know if you noticed that." And Shaw's like, "It's a Monarch ship, isn't it? I mean, you got the branding slapped on everything." And Tim's like, "You don't get a say, Colonel. You took over a Monarch outpost by force, and you put the whole world at risk." And Lee kind of makes a face at Kaiko like, it wasn't that bad. And Tim's like, "Not to mention that none of us would even be here if you hadn't dragged Kate Randa down the rift with you." He's like, "I didn't drag Kate Randa or anybody else anywhere, but at least I had a plan." It's like, "What's yours? Cocktails on a Lido deck?" Everyone's like kind of staring, some like kind of bow their head. Tim's kind of embarrassed. He's like, "Okay, we follow it." And it's another, he's like, "You send out the alert as soon as we're clear the island. So stay close enough to keep contact, but not too close." "Aye, sir." We see the critters crawling around like in the halls of the ship. Hiroshi's like doing some calculations. Kentaro says like, he's like, "You've been over this a dozen times." Hiroshi's like, he says he'll keep going over until he finds out what went wrong. And Kentaro's like, "Hey, you saved your Uncle Lee." Hiroshi's like, "He hasn't been my Uncle Lee for a long time." He's like, "Kentaro, we unleash a Titan." And Kentaro's like, "We didn't know that would happen." He's like, "It doesn't matter." And Kentaro's like, "You didn't push the button." And Hiroshi's like, "We never should have pushed that button." Kate happens to be out in the hall. She's the one who did push the button. And she's like, stands there, and then she runs off. Hiroshi's like, "Kate." So he gets up, goes after her. "Kate, wait, wait, wait." She's like, "You blame me?" He's like, "No." She's like, "Then whose fault is it?" Hiroshi's like, "Why does it have to be anyone's fault? It's done. We move on." And she's like, "No, that's how you do it. You move on." And he's like, "Wait, wait, wait. So you want to blame someone? You blame me for lying to you, for betraying your mother, for keeping my life a secret. That's what brought you here. Blame me." And she like pulls, free from his grip and walks away. And she bumps into this guy in the hall. He apologizes, and we follow him. He goes to a workstation. He hears something. He like looks around, doesn't see anything. Finally looks up, the little critter's there, jumps right at him. So he's probably dead, right? Then we go to the past, Santa Soledad, 1957, in the cave, like where the bartender took Lee, Bill, and Keiko. Bill's like looking at the drawings in the cave walls, and then at the dock, Lee says that Keiko's like, maybe that's what they're hiding. A rich fishing ground would explain why they're so suspicious of outsiders. She's like, makes sense. It's like, what I want to know is, what is enriching these waters? So she's like looking at samples. Bill walks up and Lee says that, he's like, oh, I thought you'd never come out of the cave. Kai's like, Billy, look at this, and like the sample. He's like, pack up, it's time to go. And Lee's like, all right. And Keiko's like, we just got here. He's like, I know, I found a map. And Shaw's like, a map? What kind of map, Billy? He's like, on the walls back in the cave. It's a migratory map. And Shaw's like, for your sea monster? And Billy's like, yeah, no, exactly. I think it charts the path that it takes around the world. It's not here anymore because it's already moved on. So we need to go back to Santiago, recheck the maritime archives for any correlation with the Muto, M-U-T-O, encounters along the route. Kai's like, just looking at him. And then Billy's like, shake a leg. It's like, we're on the hunt. She's like, Billy, I spent 3 weeks seasick in a stinking tramp steamer to get to this place, and I think there could be something going on here. He's like, look, okay, that map just might show where it will be, and just maybe we can get out in front of it, but we got to get going. And she's like, no. Billy's like, no? She's like, no. He's like, what? She's like, Billy, we run all around the world checking out every rumor and myth you hear, and I never say a word when you want to follow a story. But now you're dismissing me because I want to follow the science. He's like, hey, I would never dismiss you. And she's like, okay, so look at it. He's like, so you could say, okay, you stay and finish collecting your data. We'll divide and conquer, all right? And you'll probably find something I would never see in a million years. And she's like, no, stop trying to flatter me. And Shaw's like, are you guys done? And they both like glare at him. He's like, okay, my professional opinion. If you're going, we should all go. And they're both like, no. He's like, guys, I mean, we need to stick together. I don't know if you guys noticed, the locals don't really want us around here. They specifically asked us to leave. And Kai's like, but that's why we need to stay. This means something. And she's holding up the water sample. She's like, if we turned around every time someone tried to spook us, just don't go. And Billy's like, I have to. He's like, all right. He's like, I love you. He's like, I know, I love you too. In the present, Lee says to Tim, he's like, you wanted to see me, Captain? He's like, I'm not the captain. And Shaw's like, I know. And Tim points to the desk. He's like, from Director Barris, my orders are to pursue and maintain contact with the unidentified Titan at all costs. It's like, all other priorities are rescinded. He's like, congratulations, you made the right call. And Tim's like, no, you did, Colonel. Most of my career at Monarch, I was just a troll in the basement. I'm not the guy for this. And Shaw's like, well, you know what they say. Some men have greatness thrust upon them. So what's next? He's like, consequences. He holds up a file. He reads from it. Colonel Leland Lafayette Shaw is to be detained and transported to Monarch headquarters for interrogation and asset management at earliest opportunity. And Shaw holds out his wrist, like to be cuffed. And Tim's like, you know what I think, Colonel? I think this last one came through garbled. And he crumples it up. May finds Kate sitting around, asks her, what's she doing? Has she called home, talked to her mom? And Kate says, Tim said that they notified everyone when they made it back to the ship. She's like, but you didn't call her? And Kate's like, what would I even say? May's like, I mean, I started with, hey, it's me. It's been 2 years, but I'm not dead. And Kate's like, yeah, there's been a lot going on. And May's like, yeah, you think? She's like, my family's hiding in a basement waiting for the next G-Day. And she's like, should have never hit that button. And May's like, yeah, probably not. And then Kate looks at her, and May's like, what? He's like, what do you expect me to do? You want me to pretend that we didn't do all this? She's like, we didn't do it. I did. I pressed a button. And she's like, oh my God, stop. She's like, don't do that, poop. We all did it. Me, you, Kentaro, your dad. We all went down there to save Shaw because it was the right thing to do. And Kate kind of shakes her head at May, and May turns and walks away. Tentacle Titan continues swimming. Outpost is following. Kai talks to Shaw as he's like looking out with binoculars. She's like, "What Tim said about you taking over a base with force, endangering the world?" He like raises his hand to dismiss it. She's like, "It didn't sound like the Lee Shaw I knew." He's like, "Hey, Kai, I'm still the same guy I always was." He like points to his temple. She's like, "So it's not true?" He's like, "Well, Monarch and I had different ways of dealing with things." She's like, "What exactly was the issue?" He's like, "They were wrong. I was right." She's like, "Lee?" It's like, things do change. Monarch changed, but don't get dazzled by all the bells and whistles. They're still just a government agency, same as the IRS or the people who go through your luggage at the airport. She's like, "They go through your luggage at the airport?" He kind of like smirks and smiles. Then they hear Tim talking to agents. He asks how far ahead now. The lady's like 12 kilometers increasing. And Tim's like, "It's sped up?" And she's like, "It's moving at over 40 knots. And Shaw's like, "Well, what do you know? It's almost as if it doesn't want us to catch it. Can you squeeze any more speed out of this tin can?" Tim's like, "We're ready at full speed." He's like, "Full power?" So then the other dude, he's like, "The engines are rated to 110%. So Shaw's like, "It's another 10%. Let's push it." And the guy's like, "We'll risk overheating." And Shaw's like, "It's a risk we're going to have to take." And Tim's like, No. It's like, hold on. And Shaw's like, "You got your orders. Follow that thing at all costs." And Tim's like, "If we blow the engines, then I can't follow my orders." And Shaw's like, "If you don't, you lose it." Tim's like, "I'm not going to risk us being sitting ducks out here. I got 200 people on the ship." Shaw's like, "And how many hundreds of thousands are in the path of that monster?" Then there's beeping on the radar. And Kai was like, "What's that?" It's like, "They're vessels. It's like 14 of them." Shaw's like, "That's the Strait of Malacca. It's a choke point for sea traffic. All those ships are just stuck there waiting to pass through. You want to talk about sitting ducks? That's hundreds of civilian sailors right there." Tim curses. Kai turns. She's like, "Forgive me, but I know it's been a long time, but I need to know what is Monarch's mission?" Tim's like, "The mission statement is discover and defense in a time of monsters." She pauses and Lee like gives a little nod. She's like, "Those are Billy's words." Tim like sighs. She's like, "We tried defense once at Bikini Atoll, and after that, we decided that the only way to truly defend ourselves was to discover, learn everything we can, never stop chasing the truth, even when we weren't certain of a way back." It's like, "Isn't that why you built this ship? Why you're all here? Or has Monarch changed more than I realized?" So Shaw like glances at Tim, and he's like, "Increase speed." And the guy's like, "Yes, sir." Back in 1957, Bill goes off on a boat. The bartender like watches from the dock. The guy who is like kind of civil, he like walks up to her and is like, "What about the others? They didn't leave?" And she says that she'll talk to him again. And he's like, not enough. She says, to let her try. And, she can make them understand. And he's like, "Sorry, Lucia." He's like, "It's not up to them anymore. Their fate is sealed. It's out of our hands." In the cave, Shaw's like, "Look, I get it, okay? I understand. I love the guy, but he can drive you crazy. I mean, he drags you down to the bottom of the world and stays for half a day and loses interest. I mean, I'd be mad too." And she's like, "Is that what you think? That I'm mad at him? I'm mad at myself for being mad at him, okay?" Shaw gives her a look. And she's like, "What?" And he's like, "What?" She's like, "My husband, Hiroshi's father, he was a good man, really good man. Our parents arranged our marriage, but he was a good husband." And Shaw's like, "So what happened?" And she's like, "He was a doctor. During and after the war in Nagasaki, he died right after Hiroshi was born. Cancer. He provided for me. He protected me. The only thing he could never seem to understand was that it just wasn't enough." It's like, Billy will drive you mad and drag you to the bottom of the world and suddenly lose interest, but the only thing that he cares about more than Monarch is me and you, and that I could be my own person, no matter the circumstances." And then she's like, do you feel that?" And Shaw's like, "Well, what am I supposed to feel?" And she puts her hand on the earth. She's like, "There's a vibration." He's like, "No, I don't feel it." And she puts on a stethoscope. Then it cuts to the present. Shaw's like, "All right, Captain, what do we have on board? Anything we can use against that Titan?" Tim's like, "This is a research and monitoring outpost. maybe we find out it has plankton allergy. Shaw's like, what about that drone I saw on deck? And Kai's like, they're finally using drones? And he's like, yeah. He's like, is it armed? Tim's like, yeah, with a camera. So the lady's like, I have the specs right here. So Shaw looks at him. He's like, FV12 hybrid, long wave infrared for thermal imaging, sonar transducer for underwater mapping. Kite's like, sonar, it uses sound? And Shaw's like, yeah. She's like, we've seen this Titan before. We think it responds to sound, subsonic, below the range of human hearing. And Shaw's like, but you can feel it. And she's like, if you can use the drone to emit an infrasonic signal. And Shaw's like, maybe we can get its attention. And she's like, or divert it. And he's like, well, at least distract it. And Hiroshi's like, I might be able to modify the pulsar setting on the sonar transducer to mimic Titan's frequency. And she's like, she's like, you can do that? He's like, yeah. And they look at Tim. Shaw's like, we got about 20 minutes before the sailors on those ships have a really bad day. And Tim's like, right, obviously. Okay, let's go. In the past, Kai says that she'd like to get some samples from the deeper water, so maybe they can hire a boat. Shaw says that they can try, but the locals haven't been very receptive. And she's like, well, she's like, you can always chime your charm offensive or something like that. Then the dude from the bar he comes in with our bartender. He's like, hey, did you find what you're looking for? And she's like, we don't know exactly what it is we're looking for, but that's what makes our work exciting. And she's like, I would like to apologize for any disturbance we may have caused. It certainly wasn't our intentions. He's like, no. He's like, I wish to apologize. We have not made you welcome. And Shaw's like, I'm sure you have your reasons. So he's like, not very good reasons. Lucia has told you the people here have strong beliefs. Kai's like, what kind of superstitions? I think he said superstitions in Spanish like that. She's like, is it about the creatures on these walls? He's like, sí. He's like, yes. And Lucia's like, this place, it's very sacred to our people. They're afraid that with outsiders here, the fish won't come. Kai's like, but you don't believe that? And she's like, superstition. The dude's like, the old ways do not die without a fight. We don't want you to think we are primitive fools. And Shaw's like, no. And he's like, you chose an excellent time to be here. Tonight is our festival. Come, there will be food, music. Shaw's like, that sounds fantastic, but thank you for the invite, but I think we should go. And he's like, Kai's like, sí, gracias. He's like, we accept. And Shaw's like, yeah. And he's like, excellent day, see you tonight. So it's like, Shaw's like, no. She's like, yeah, we'll be there. On the outpost, the critter's still crawling around the halls. It's like leaving like slime trails like all over. On the Kai's like looking at the drone with Hiroshi. She asks like, what seems to be the problem? And he's like, between 1 and 20 hertz isn't very specific. And she's like, well, my instruments were limited compared to what you have now. It's like, can we emit a variable range? He's like, yeah, but the odds of hitting on the exact signal it responds to. It's like, but do we have another choice? He like sighs and he starts chewing his nails. And she like moves his hands away from his mouth. And she says like, don't bite your nails. She like kind of did it like out of habit. And then she kind of pauses and she kind of laughs. And he like smiles back. And it was kind of very touching because he like leans his head against hers and everything. And she's like, Billy would have loved all of this. He would have been right at home. And Hiroshi's like, yeah, he was always more at home when he was at work. And he's like, I think this should do it. And she's like, okay. So the drone is launched. Kai says that it's incredible. And Shaw's like, oh yeah, these toys are now pretty cool, but they're no substitute for experience and instinct. Kate enters her bunk room. She leaves the door open, and then she has her head down, and the critter like scurries past, like on the wall, and she kind of got a glimpse of something. So she looks out in the hall, and then she starts going in a direction, and she sees like some like reddish slime or something like that it leaves behind, like on the floor, like by the wall. Then she sees it like, splattered across the walls because it's like walking on the sides too. She keeps following it. And then she sees it on the ceiling, down the hall. She like gasps and runs back, and she grabs like a phone on the wall. She's like, "This is Kate Randa. I'm on deck. I don't know. There's something here." She's like, "Hello, somebody?" But then she turns to the bunk room. She pauses at the door. She like looks at it slowly, like crawling down the ceiling towards her, and she grabs a fire extinguisher on the wall. She's like, "Try me, you little bastard." The drone approaches a Titan. Tim's like, "Look at the size of that thing." So they're like 5 minutes to intercept. Shaw tells the dude like piloting, he's like, to the piloting the drone, he's like, "Go lower." And he's like, "It's not taking the bait." So he asks Hiroshi if he's sure that the signal's firing, and Shaw tells the dude to go lower. The guy's like, "There's a lot of chop on the surface. If I go any lower, the drone might hit the water." So Shaw is like frustrated. He grabs like the control, he practically makes it like dive towards the Titan, and he's like, "Right there." I was like, "Hold it right there." He's like, "You got it." Lady says that they still have no change in direction. Then a tentacle swings up, and Shaw's like, "Pull up." Wham! The drone goes into water. Then the screen's like, "Signal lost." He's like, I don't suppose you got another drone that's ready to?" And someone like maybe Tim like says, "Get a warning out to the vessels, because it looks like their plan didn't work." Kate starts squeezing the fire extinguisher, but nothing happens, and it's like getting closer, crawling towards her. She didn't take the pin out. And then she starts like trying to like pull the pin, but it's like stuck. And then the critter gets hit and like falls. Kentaro shot it. He shot it with a flare gun. At first I was like, what type of gun was that? So he's like followed by May. So I guess he's a really good shot with that. And it's still kind of moving. And then Kate starts like trying to like smash it with hit it with the fire extinguisher. Kentaro tells her to move. And then he like shoots it again with the flare. But it's still like in the game, and it lets out this like sonic belch that like extends out of the ship, and then it goes out like all the water like moves. It hits the Titan too. In the control room, Tim's like, the hell was that?" And Kai like points to the radar map, and it's like the Titan's turning, just in time, because it's like almost reached the ships. Tim's like, "Hey team, I think we might have pissed it off." The lady crew member says that it's not turning, it's turning around. And they're just like standing there like, I was like, do they realize that it's coming for them? In the past, Kai and Shaw see people getting ready, there's like some like torches, the lighting, adding more light on posts and stuff like that. And she's like, "Maybe they're friendlier than we thought." And Shaw's like, "Let's hope so." So Lucia comes out, she's got like some makeup on her face and stuff. And she says that this is their festival. People on the island, they believe that they have to appease the thing, whatever, to show humility and ensure a bountiful catch. Kai's like, "You said believed." It's like they don't believe in it anymore. She says that it started like generations ago when they first came from the mainland or whatever. The dude from the bar, he comes up and he tells them different things or whatever, but he pours like some drink, and he's like, I think Shaw asks what is it, and he's like, "It's wine." So they drink, but it's like, okay, if everyone drinking, it doesn't really seem like they're drinking that much. The people start dancing. Shaw says Billy's going to kick himself for missing this, and she says that he should have stayed. But then he asks her if she's okay, and then she like stands and she starts like kind of like dancing with the people, because it's more like a ceremonial dance, like going around in circles and stuff like that. So Shaw goes up, and then they kind of grab him as well. So more dancing, like in circles, moving around, whatever. And then so obviously the drink is going to do something, right? Shaw and Kai, they end up like facing each other, and then she says again, she's like, "You feel that?" And he's like, "I feel." But then like someone bumps her, and then she like bumps into Shaw, and then there's a flashback of a kiss. But then in the present, it looks like there's a blood moon or something like that. People like bring out the big creature that was like on display in the bar, I think maybe. And Shaw says that he's like, "I think it's time to go." So this dude with like this big ceremonial hat, he like slices this big animal or fish or something that's like hanging It's like over at the hatch, like the big stone thing that they saw in the center of town. And then he like does something to Lucia. I don't know if he like marks her or does something to her, and then she turns like the Shaw and Kai. So it's like, okay, this is not good. In the present, the Titans approaching the outpost. Kentaro's like, he calls a commander room, says that there's a creature on the ship, and they stunned it for now, but they don't think it's dead. And Kai's like, what does the creature look like? So Kate says that it was one of those like bug things that came out of the rift, Skull Island. So it got on board somehow. The lady crew members, she's like looking around. She manages to find a camera in the hallway that's like pointed right at it. It was very conveniently. Shaw says that the Titan isn't coming for them, it's coming for that. He says they need to turn this bucket around and book. The whiny guy's like, the engines are over the red line, so we can't hold the speed for much longer. And Shaw's like, hold for as long as you can. We just need to buy some time. And Tim's like, time for what? And Shaw's like, to get that thing what it wants. He's like, come on, man. He's like, you're with me. Show me the way. And so Tim tells the guy to do it, and he leaves with Shaw. So Lee and like Kentaro, they're carrying the creature. It's like wrapped in a blanket. They put it on a raft, and Shaw says like, open the hatch. So he's gonna draw the Titan away from the ship. Then the engine's cut, and in the command room, Kai and Hiroshi, they see Shaw's like on a raft that's about to be launched. So they run out of the room. They go over there. Kate's like standing by the door and watching like Shaw on the raft. And I'm not sure what's going on here, but like some water's like, kind of splashing in. And then there's like another kind of like sonic, like whatever. And she's like, do you hear that? And May's like, hear what? We see like the water's like sort of pulsing a bit. So the same thing, like Kaiko, so her grandmother, she felt like vibrations, and Shaw like didn't feel it. So Kate's like feeling it too. So I wonder if there's something, they're genetic or something. I don't know. There's something going on with that. Hiroshi and Kai, they make it to like the deck, and they're like, they see Shaw in the raft. In the past, Kai's like, what's happening? And she's like, what's it mean? And Lucia says that, she tried to get them to leave, but, they wouldn't respect their wishes. Shaw's like, okay, so what happens now? And he's like, now? He's like, yeah. So she's like, our secret will remain a secret. She's like, I'm sorry. She rushes off, and everyone else is gone too. Shaw's like, okay, let's find a boat and get out of here, all right? And she's like, you feel that? He's like, what? She's like, the vibration I felt in the cave. She's like, you don't feel it? He's like, no. He's like, then there's another like shudder. He's like, okay, I did feel that. Down below, like loads of little critters are like come out. They crawl out of a cave or something like that. They get on the ground. They're scurrying all over the place. And Shaw's like, okay, run. In the present, Kentaro, Kate, and May, they reach Kai and Hiroshi, and they see like the Titan like going after Lee now. It surfaces and lets out this big roar. Lee like goes to the critter, like he like almost like cuts himself. He's like on a spike or something like that. But he manages to lift the critter and like toss it over. Then he gets the raft moving. He tries getting away, but there's like this big wave curling around it, and it's like whoosh, and Kai like spins around like not wanting to watch. Kate like covers her mouth with both hands. And then after a bit, a dude like with Tim looking through binoculars like, SOB, he made it. So you see him, whoosh, he just barely like makes it out as the waves like curling around. I don't know what you call it. May yells out, she's like, hey, there he is. Kai turns around. Tim lets out like a breath like relief or whatever. The critter is like swims around the Titan. In the past, the critters are running through the town. Kai and Lee like run down the main road. They try like opening the door to like one of the shacks or whatever, but it's locked. And then they go to the dock to like find a boat. But then there's just a Titan like coming out of the water. Lee tries getting Kai out of the way. A tentacle like swings, smashes like a building, and they end up going flying. That's the end of the episode. Obviously, they're going to survive because they're in the present, but that's the end. So, Yeah, so I'm assuming this is the same critter. So that's how they know stuff about it. But we'll have to see what happens next. So the third episode is available. We'll talk about that next week. All right, now the movie feature is a movie called Undertone. And I'm trying to remember when I first heard about this. Maybe it might have been like a week or two ago when I'm trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to watch? What's going to be the movie feature? And I'm like, oh, nothing's coming out. Then I was like, oh, what's Undertone? I click it, and I was like, oh, okay. So the premise, this is what I went by when I saw this. I was like, okay, Undertone. Actually, no, this is a little bit longer. Yeah, so this just came up, firstshowing.net. It says, what were you thinking? You shouldn't have listened to all of them. It's what she wants. This isn't what I read. It wants to be heard. It's deeply frightening audio horror film from writer and director Ian Tucson. Undertone stars. Okay, that's not what I read. Okay, maybe this was it. The host of a popular paranormal podcast becomes haunted by terrifying recordings mysteriously sent her way. Okay, not entirely accurate. When I first heard it's like a podcast recorder, I'm just like, are you serious? I was like, okay, this is going to be very meta and stuff like that. And I'll just mean that in the fact that because I'm a podcaster. But there's actually, a couple things that I could appreciate, whatever, but there's some things that bothered me a little bit. We'll get to that. So basically, I feel like I've mentioned this, because I watch, movies Thursday and then Friday, I'm at work. And then sometimes I'll be like, I saw this scary movie. It's a scary movie. I'm going to say that. It's not a scary movie in what you might think. I feel like I'm all over the place already with this. So basically what it's about, we got this woman. She's back at home because her mom is like deathly sick. Something is going on with her. She's kind of like in a coma. She's just sleeping all the time. Doesn't move, doesn't, say anything. So she's just like hanging out with her mom. And one of the things that's creepy is her mom's house has like all these like angel religious symbols, but it's like kind of like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like that old style drawings and stuff. And while they're meant to be religious and positive or whatever, but they're kind of creepy. And there's a lot of like angels or cherubs or whatever. So it's like, So she's there, and so she does have a podcast with a friend of hers, and I think he's in England. I don't know where she's at. I don't know if they tell us. They mention some things, but it's not really important. So she talks to him over online, whatever. I think she might whatever. They talk online. And so part of it, because this is, I guess let me mention this also. I mention a couple things. The movie has a $500,000 budget, and there's really only two actors on screen. You got Nina Curie, who's Evie, and then her mom, Michelle Duquette. There's a few other people, but you only hear them like over the phone or whatever. So there's only really two people. So when she talks to the co-host of this podcast, this parent, she has I don't know if I mentioned, she has a parent, or maybe the description, I think. They have a paranormal podcast. So her friend Justin, he tells her, he's like, hey, I got this anonymous email with just like some, just random letters in the email address or whatever. And there's like just weird, like, kind of like sentence. It was like kind of not even in a straight line or whatever. And then there's like 10 audio files. And I don't know if he started listening to one, but then he's like, oh, we should save this for the podcast and get, like honest reactions. So she's like, okay, well, let's do it. Now with the podcast, the way they kind of step into the roles, they're getting into characters. So he's more like the believer, is like, hey, what about this? What do you think about this? And she's more the skeptic, Mulder and Scully, whatever you want to call it. But she's like, no, it's probably this. It's probably that, she's like, comes up with the ideas. And they start listening to the audio, and it's basically just this couple where, the guy says that his whatever, they mention her name. she talks her to sleep and she doesn't believe it. So she's like, no, I can't sleep with that, whatever. So they start recording. And then Justin's like, okay, let's move to, there's a bump in the audio. So it's just silent. There's nothing. So they go to that. And she starts like talking. And she might be singing. I don't remember if that's what it was in the first clip. But there's like something about singing like London Bridge is falling down. And it's kind of creepy if you think about that. And Justin does some searches. And this is okay. I guess I back up. One of the things I don't like is the way Justin talks. I feel like it's not natural. It sounds like someone who is acting out the dialogue. And no offense, but it really threw me out. It's like, yeah. Well, what do you think about this? Okay. It's like no one talks like that. And that's a bad impression of what it was. But it felt like, okay, I'm doing an audio book or something like that. So, when you're doing the audio, you have to put more acting into it because you can't see the person. But no, if you're talking over the phone, you don't need to do that extra. So that threw me off a little bit. And then there's a part where he's like, oh, let me look this up. Okay, here, I found a result. It's like, dude, how do you find a result that fast? One, you have to type it into your search, then you have to click on it, then you have to read to see if it's pick which one you're going to click on. So it's just very, very fast. And, there's some stuff about London Bridge, and he's like reading it, how it's like really like kind of a dark song where, there's this queen or whatever, and, she wanted to say protect her kids, or is there something, or she was just fearful that the bridge was going to collapse, and so it's like she had to sacrifice kids, and since she was a queen or whatever, she can get people to give their kids and then there's something like about playing it backwards and stuff like that. Then where things get a little creepy is like earlier, like before this, she's sitting with her mom, sitting by her mom's side. Her mom's just breathing, just sleeping, but Evie's like singing Baba Black Sheep, and it's because her mom sang that to her when she was young. And then it comes up, I don't remember if it was in a search or something like that, so Justin's like plays this clip, and then somehow they talk about like playing it backwards, because apparently like in all the children's songs there's like hidden messages. So they play it backwards, and you can hear. He's like, wait, did you hear that? And she's like, hear what? He's like, play it back. Hear something like that. And she's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, no, that's like selective hearing. It was not selective hearing, but it was something like that, where she's like, you think you hear something and you make yourself believe that that's what it is. So then, but it just gets kind of creepy and like all this stuff. And then later, in another episode, I think like Baba Black Sheep comes on, and he's like, it's the same audio that we listened to, and so things are like that. Now, the other things that make this creepy. So along the, she's in this creepy house, and when they record, I think it's like 3 a.m. to do the difference with the London time or whatever. But when because this movie is all about the audio, or not all, there's a lot about the audio. It's like when she's about to do the podcast or get on, she puts on like these ultra like noise canceling headphones. So it just like shoom, goes quiet. And on some of the audio when they're listening, there's like this like banging noise or something like that. And she's like, no, it's probably in an old house. It's just, the pipes or whatever. But then there's sometimes it's like one part, the banging's like louder, and she's like looking, because it's like, you got the headphones. It's like, is the banging in the audio, or is something going on in the house? Now, again, in the house, it's just her and her mom. Her mom is unresponsive. I mean, there's even time where, her mom basically, poops the bed or something like that, and she has to clean the bed and her mom or whatever. But there's another thing that, make things freaky is, she goes in her mom's room, and like on a nightstand, there's like this little like kind of like a religious figure or something like that. But it's like weird because there's just like these little things on it. Like, are those little babies? Like, what's going on? And just like the face is like not very friendly for whatever religious statue-y thing or whatever. So she's like puts it in the drawer and the nightstand. But then like later another day, it's back out, and her mom is like not moving. And sometimes she's like, "Mom, did you whatever?" So then she ends up putting it in a closet. But there's one part, and I'll tell you this: there's one part in the movie where she runs up there, and then the light's on in the closet, but her mom again is not moving. So she and the closet door is cracked. So she's about to go in there, and I'm like, "Oh my God, are you going to open? What is going to jump out at us that's going to be freaky or whatever?" And she's going slowly, but then she just like shuts the door and turns off the light. So it's like little things like that. I'm just like it's scary. I don't know if I say it's scary. It's definitely creepy. It will creep you out, but it's not like a horror movie. There's no blood or something like that, and it's just more of like a psychological thing. And I guess I should also the movie. It's like an hour and 84 minutes. It's wait, no, this says it's 94 minutes. I thought it was less than that. I thought it was like 84 minutes. I don't know if this is right. But as I'm watching this, it's like barely an hour and a half. And it felt longer than an hour and a half. And at one point I wanted to look at my phone. It's like, how much time do I have? How much longer until this movie's over? And the reason I was saying that is like I wanted the movie to end so I could just go home and not have to watch this anymore. And I don't mean that because the movie is so bad or boring or anything. As like I don't want to watch this anymore. This is starting to get a little freaky. And I'm kind of joking in a way, but it kind of not. So it's weird for being so short. It did not feel short. It just gets the way I guess you could kind of, because of the low budget and everything, kind of think back to like when you watched Blair Witch for the first time. That's another movie. I don't remember what the budget was for that, but it was very small. It was a simple movie and stuff like that. But then things start getting freaky and freakier, and even if you not that it's like nothing the same, but if you think about like the ending of Blair Witch, when they get to that house, Josh, what is Josh doing, and it's just kind of freaky, and they don't explain what it is, and sometimes when movies do that, when they don't spell everything out exactly for you, that kind of makes it a little creepier because it's like wait, what the heck? What's going on? What's happening? And it's also like it kind of leaves you open to use your imagination. Like what's happening here? And so the movie, I feel like it does get disturbing, and there's some weird parts, and sometimes she might have a dream or something like that, and yeah. So I really feel you should watch this movie. I don't know. I don't think there's much more for me to say because I definitely don't want to spoil stuff. And I think I hit all the main parts. There's another point where, like, when they end up doing the show, they're like, she's like, we need to end this or something like that. Let's take a break. And he's like, well, why don't we just do a two-parter here? So we'll just stop here and continue. But then when they do the second part, they I guess they do it at a time where they'll take live phone calls or something like that. So yeah, I'm saying too much now because someone calls and it gets freaky. And I think part of it is because it does rely a lot on sound. But again, the fact that it has a $500,000 budget, I don't know what the predictions, but for Thursday night showings, it made $1 million. So it's like, oh, it only made $1 million. It made double its budget just one night. So when you got these low budget movies, they can be really profitable because it doesn't take much. So yeah, it's what else did I want to say? The other thing, which I don't understand how this works. So $500,000 budget, but it says Undertone premiere. I'm reading off of Wikipedia. Premiered at the 29th Fantasia International Film Festival, July 27, 2025, where it won the Gold Audience Award for Canadian films. In August 2025, A24 acquired worldwide distribution rights to the film in a 7-figure deal and was released on March 13, 2026. So I guess that right there, 7-figure deal, what does that mean? Because, so you could say it's an A24 movie, but really all they're doing is they're distributing it. And I don't know how much of a profit or what they get. Because, they didn't make the movie. They didn't pay for like this writer or screenwriter or something. It's just there. So what is this 7-figure? It's like, are they paying so they can? Maybe that's how it goes. I don't know. And I don't know if I ever said Rotten Tomato. Right now, so it keeps changing, whatever. Rotten Tomatoes, 77% based off 110 reviews, and then it's 54% audience. So I thought it would be higher. Now, that's going to be the thing, and I'm going to try to avoid reading the reviews because I don't know if that's just lame. But I could see some people easily, like, that ending's so dumb or whatever, and then not liking the movie. I think it's freaky, and so I like it that it ended like that. I'm like so super tired. It's like the next day already when I'm recording this. But it was, what was I saying? It was really good. I'm talking about the scores. Oh, so the ending. I could see people dismissing it, whatever, but I enjoyed it like that, and it does, yeah, and just the sound, and so it was a cool movie. When I left the theater, because it was like late at night, because I went to a 9:15 showing, so it was like maybe like 11 o'clock when I'm leaving the theater, but it's like there was no one outside. There's like no traffic, and so that was a little weird, because when I left the movie, you're kind of left with this like almost like a sinking feeling. I mean, it was a little disturbing, but not. Some people were like, "What are you talking about? It's not disturbing." I felt it was a little disturbing. Just the vibe, the energy, and just what is actually happening. So then, just like walking to my car, it's just like it just kind of felt weird, but yeah, it was good. So you should definitely see it. So Undertone. I'm so glad I watched this movie. I'm so glad that there wasn't something else that I felt would be bigger. But yeah, so Undertone. Definitely you should check that out. That's it. That's going to be the podcast for this week. I feel like I'm losing it. I don't even know where I was going with. It is time. Big thanks to Andrew Loken. He is a big supporter of the show. You can be a supporter by going to patreon.com/gmanfromheck. Any amount you can commit to will be awesome. If you commit at the Rick Jones tier or higher, you get access to that secret podcast from Heck, which is an additional 30-ish minutes of podcast entertainment every single week. I've been doing the Silver Age, weird, wacky, goofy covers, DC Comics. This week, so I'm full disclosure, I'm going to try recording it right after this, which is maybe a big mistake. I'm going to try to do an off my mind. Just so I could get it in the can. Yeah, so we'll see how that... It's going to be a good topic, right? Yeah, got to try to sell it. But if you can't commit to a monthly commitment, you can also help out by going to coffee.com/gmanfromheck. You can buy me a virtual cup of coffee or two. That's ko-fi.com/gmanfromheck. All right, what is happening next week? The movie feature is the Pout Pout Fish. Just kidding. What does a Pout Pout Fish? It's going to be Project Hail Mary. And so I listened to the audiobook. I really liked it. And I think, even though it's going to be like over $20, I'm going to do a Screen X with that because I think that'll be cool. I really, really want to see Ready or Not 2, Here I Come. Early Rotten Tomatoes scores, it came up on my Instagram, it was at 100%. What does that mean? I'm not going to actually look it up because I don't want to, I don't like being biased. Yeah, I kind of wish I didn't see that. But sometimes, they'll do these early things like 100% based off of, 10 reviews or, some like really small number. But I'm so excited for that. But I feel like, and maybe I'm making a mistake, but I kind of feel like I should watch Project Hail Mary first, and then we'll do Ready or Not the following week. As far as TV goes, so we'll have another Monarch. We'll have the season finale of Wonder Man. I think that'll be it for this week. I don't think anything's starting up this week, but then, Daredevil and maybe, when's The Boys? I'm not going to look it up now, but that'll be soon. So that is going to be it for this week. Hopefully you had a less crazy week than I did, and hopefully this coming week will be great. I hope you are taking care of yourself. I hope you are finding time to do fun things, and I hope you remember, be good to each other.